my skill set is just like hustle. Like look at a resume, it's like what do you do? I'm a hustler. Can you hire me?
There was a hype, we didn't create it, we jumped on it, but then we became at the top of it also. You know what I mean?
Run a business, I've got full control. Like if I want to make more money, I work harder. If I want to make not less money, but if I want to, I wish this was the way, but if I want to kick back, I can kick back.
3 shops, I've got 17. They're like, yeah, but in the suburbs of Asad's is the highest performing restaurant. You're not. You're a good restaurant, but you're not the highest performing in the area.
Welcome to the Come Up Starter Kit podcast, guys. We are soon to be the #1 podcast in the world. I have a heavy catch today with some heavy hitters. So it's going to be a huge episode. Now, this podcast is all about business and careers and just helping you if you need some inspiration, if you are stuck. Now, this is actually an interesting lineup that I have here. Everyone here is from the Southeast. So we've got Glenwaverley representation, we've got Berwick representation. So it's going to be, and this was done strategically. This is what I wanted. I wanted to get some Southeast representation up in here. So let me start off by introducing everyone. I've got my co-host Tom. He's been on the road with me with the Come Up Starter Kit with Channel 31. He's always behind the mic, or he's actually always behind the camera. Now we get to see, and the mic. Yeah, he's always setting up the mic with Ralph. And now we get to see his mug here. I've got Danny, who is the founder of Empire. He's transitioned into, Danny's rolled his eyes. I'm like, oh, no.
I was like, good luck, good waiting.
Danny is a huge entrepreneur. He's done a whole range of things, and we'll get into that. But what he is notably known for is Empire Nightclub, and he's transitioned to 80 Proof Liquour. Yeah?
Probably.
Very good. And then we've got Asad Syed, who is the king of kebabs. Glenny Kebabs, an absolute icon in Glenwaverley and soon expanding as well.
That's it.
Icon everywhere. Well, these boys are both icons that we have here, which is very, very good. So I'm going to start off with this #1 question. I'll kick it to Danny and then we'll go into it. Firstly, how scared were you when you first started your first business? And what was your first business?
So I wasn't scared because it's funny because I actually had this conversation with someone the other day.
Oh, true.
What made you get into business? And I'm like, I kind of like, for me, it was because growing up, my family didn't have a lot of money. So because we didn't have a lot of money, I had kids around me and they would wear like brand clothes and they would have like football cards and they would have different things that my family didn't have access to. So even things sounds like kind of cliche, but like if I wanted chips and gravy, $2 was a lot to my family. So I had to figure out ways to hustle that cash, if that makes sense. So for me, basically from the age of as long as I can remember, I was knocking on doors, washing cars for $5. So I was selling pop puree. I was delivering pamphlets. I sold cigarettes. I did all kinds of different things, right? Yeah. It's for me, so when I was kind of left school and did whatever and decided that I was going to leave tertiary education, there was no fear to me because I was I've been doing this since I was 8. That makes sense. So I'm in a lucky position where it's the idea of someone of this being scary is beyond me, if that makes sense. Right. Because for me, it's just working for someone else with no control is a lot more scary than what I do. If that makes sense.
100%. What do you mean? So
if you're working for a boss, right?
Yeah.
And you're relying on him to do well and not go broke. Yeah. So effectively you just work for that guy.
Right.
And you're expecting that he's going to continue to pay you, he's going to continue to make money in his business. You have no control apart from your job, right? Yeah. Whereas when you run a business, I've got full control. If I want to make more money, I work harder. If I want to make not less money, but if I want to, I wish this was the way, but if I want to kick back, I can kick back. Yeah, and I have full control of my hours. I have full control of how much time I put into it. I have full control of how much I earn. If I want to fix things, I look back at it. So for me, it's I don't know, it's the opposite. Working for someone to me is not secure. Yeah, do you feel that way?
100%.
Yeah.
You also have all the risks though.
Mm.
That'd be something to consider. So
yeah, I'll be honest, I think it's a build up from people they'll kind of tell you. So even for me, the biggest times I've ever doubted myself was doubt that was given to me by others. Does that make sense? So people will be what are you going to do when you grow up? Or what are you going to do when this happens? Or what happens if this happens? Or how are you going to pay for this? Or what are you going to do for this? And it's and I guess even the way banks work, which to me is bananas.
Yeah.
So it's in a bank, you can work for some other random guy who they don't know anything about other than you have a job and they'll give you whatever you want. But if you run a business, they'll give you nothing. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense. But you'll make double, triple the amount that they do. Yeah. So I feel it's sort of the community and the world that makes that stuff sound risky. The reality of it is as long as you don't have too much stock and you make sort of good decisions. Like rent's a scary one. Like rent's probably like, there's things that can stuff you up, no doubt. But like at the same time, like where I was, it was like when I was first starting, it was like, all right, I'm providing a service. I'm selling you tickets to that service. You're coming. If you don't come, I might lose $1,000. But if you do, if everyone comes, I might make $10,000.
Yeah.
So the risk versus reward was like, it wasn't as scary as what you think. And that's the thing is, I think people think they're, okay, well, I'm going to start a business. I need rent. I need this. I need stickers. I need business cards. Like that's not the case. You don't need that stuff. Like you can start off as like consulting or selling plants at a market. Yeah. And like, there's no right or wrong in business. And I think that idea of like, even the idea of like having to support yourself completely through one business is like, it doesn't make sense to me. And so
You reckon multiple?
well, I'm not saying you have to have multiple businesses, but it's like, you can work part-time and have a business that supports some of your wage. So like even when you're younger, it's like if you work at Safeway for 3 days a week, but then you've got a business on the side that sells plants at the market, there's no one, who's to say that's wrong?
Yeah.
And like, if you make up an income, like that's the way it is. And it's like, I'll talk to kids, which is kind of different than even talking about businesses.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, you know, like I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm like, go get 3 jobs. Like, but not in the sense of like working, but like go work for hospitality 2 nights a week. Go work in a video shop. Like video shops don't exist anymore, but you know what I mean? Like, who's to say that you, hey, like this idea of like, this has to be your income to me is just bananas. Like, okay, you've got to work a job 9 to 5 and that's what you have to do. Like, it's not the case. If you want to work 3 days here and 2 days there, like, and still make your income, then Godspeed. Yeah. And like, that's how I look at it. But I don't know. I think it's a thing. It's a pressure that's built up by, it's not the word community, society.
Sure.
And I think it's, in school, man, school tells you like, get a job, go to uni, do this, do that, do that. So it's like, the fear comes from like what you've been told, not by like the actual practicality for me.
I know.
How do you feel about that?
100%.
Well, Asad, you went through a traditional sort of route, right? Like school, uni, and then that. And then coming from ethnic parents as well. Were you scared?
Nah. No, because you know what he's saying is true. But what I was going to add to that, the people who usually tell you, oh, you know, this and that, and it's time to freak out. They've never done business. They don't know what they're talking about. They work for some guy at 9 to 5.
And that's 100% right.
And they've been in the same job for 10 years. So,
Yes.
bro, like, what do they know?
And they're scared.
But all right.
They're scared of change.
But do you think that, because when you boys started was very young, yeah? So there is less downside to protect, essentially.
For sure.
Whereas you've got other people that, you know, they work for 10 years, then they're like, oh shit, I've got a family, I've got a mortgage, I've got this. I can't really step away from that. So do you think that starting at a younger age was beneficial rather than later?
Yeah, I think that's probably, like, I reckon,
I think-
you're right, that I didn't have a mortgage.
Yeah.
Would I still do it now? Yeah, but I've worked in business for 16 years, so I get it.
got the-
But I think that you can, it's just more preparation. Like, what's that word? It's like PP, preparation, plan,
Yes.
performance. It's like, well, if that's the case, you're going to do it. Like, if you're serious about starting a business, then put money away so that you're willing to lose. You know, like, if you're going to work in business, you have to be willing to lose. Like, that's the reality. But you don't have to lose your whole stuff. Like, don't lose your whole house and merit off it. It goes back to, again, like, try it, dabble in it, see how you go. Maybe have $10,000-$12,000 to potentially lose. Try it out. Yeah, then if you win, if you lose, then what have you got nothing else to lose. If that makes sense. Like, if you win, then you can leave your job and you can do whatever you want to do. But yeah, I think doing it young, there's definitely probably some benefits in there.
Yeah. Did you always know, Asad, that you wanted to get into business?
Yeah, sort of similar to him.
Right.
In year 9, the school I went to,
If that was,
soft drinks were banned.
yeah.
So I used to go to Coles and buy soft drinks for the lockout, $2 each, yeah. So the same sort of thing.
Because when you left, because you did uni and then you left uni,
Yeah.
and then you were like, all right, were you like, oh, I'm not going to do this corporate hustle. I'm not about that. I'm going
No,
straight to
same.
business.
Yeah. No, there's no, I decided from my own hours, I'm not going to work for someone. I want to work my own hours.
Yeah.
Live my own life. I'm not going to tell me what time I start and finish. Right. Like, I'm happy. Even then, like my mentality was like, I'm happy to make less money,
Right.
but I'll live on my own terms.
Right.
100%.
And do you think that that's a
I
fair
drive
drive?
up into a mirror.
Yeah.
I was like, and literally, because I'm like, I was the same thing. I'm like the idea of it, even if it was 5 hours working at Safeway, I was like, fuck this. And I was like, this guy's telling me I got to work from here to here. Even though I finish, I'm going to sit here and mop floors. I'm like, makes no sense. Like, there was no ability for me to like be better at my job. If that makes sense.
And
I
I
hate
hate
it.
that you're a creative person.
I think it's practical. So I was like, all right, well, if I can do this job in 3 hours, like, why can't I leave?
Yeah.
And why can't you pay me the same amount of money? If that makes sense.
Outcome based.
Yeah, so I was like, and that's how I think I always was. And like, whereas when they're like, oh, well, you should have swept the floors or sit there. I was like, this is so dumb. Like, it just doesn't, even now, like looking at them, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. And so, and I also like, other thing for me was like time would go so slow, like working with someone else. So for me now, it's like, it goes back to outcome based. But if I've got stuff to do, like, and you'll be the same, like if I run out of shit to do, I find more shit to do.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and so it's like, why create new stuff?
Now you're outcome based. If someone's working for you now, does the same apply to them? Mentality.
For me, yes. Like, because I do a lot of service stuff, so it's different. It's different for, I guess, you've got opening hours and whatnot. But for me, it's like, I don't really have that. So like, it depends on the role, obviously. Like, if they're a bartender, then I need them there the whole time.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'm really big on KPI stuff. Like, I love being like, all right, whoever has the biggest till wins this bottle of vodka or whatever. That's like, because that to me is the outcome in the thing. So it's like, all right, well, if I achieve, this is what I get to gain from it.
Well, let me ask you this. Say it's outcome based, but you've got a person, say it's got a bartender that doesn't need to be there for a period of time. Say if they are outcome based and they finish the work sooner than that, then you let them leave. But would they still get paid for?
Yeah, some guys away from me, I'm like real big on, which is strange, but like I'm real big on retainer based. But my stuff's like, so for argument's sake, which I don't even know you know, but I have a creative company.
Yes.
So it's like the guys that are working that, it's like, I don't say to you, okay, I'm going to give you X amount of money for this many hours. I'll be like, there's your jobs for the week. Do it. So if you want to go to Bali for a week, all good, but you got to work in Bali. Like, that's how I look at it. It's like, don't ask me for to go away, but don't whinge at me when you're at Bali and I say, leave the Ubud temples because I need something done. So, but at the same time, I can also be unrealistic because the way I am is like, I'm 24 hours a day. So I want you to answer the phone and that's all night. Yeah, so you can sleep in the morning, but when we need to do shit, we got to do it. So it's like, it goes, I don't know, it's a weird thing, but at the same time, if like you finish your stuff or you want to go away, then get all your shit done and you can go away on Friday. Like, that's how I am. And it was just the idea of that whole, effectively like a prison, but it's how it felt to me. Like, it felt like a prison to me.
Well, it's funny. So to give you insight, the corporate world is, they want to move to that type of model.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of people that are stuck in these archaic businesses where they're like, because if you think about it, when you guys set up a business and then it goes into like a office type based setting where you need like an accountant, you need people to look.
Yeah, for sure.
They're like secondary to the business. You need people that are running the main business, but these are just sort of a contributing factor. You can't utilize these people at 100% because they will only represent a certain portion or act to a certain portion to your business. So now the business wants to move to a outcome base where people are like, well, I've done this work, I don't need to be here.
Well, it's like with COVID though, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I know like for people that I know, like a friend of mine works for, okay, I'm going to say Amy, but it's probably not. Like one of those businesses, and the same thing, they're like, well, we had more stuff. Even though everyone thought that it was going to be less, they end up getting more work done because people want to like, they wanted to stay home. So people working hard after, again, the outcome base was that we can prove to our boss that we can stay home. And like the idea of like driving in traffic, like pretty stupid when you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's like, with opening hours and stuff like that, do I expect my manager to stay there? Yes, I do. Yeah. That's what I mean. So my manager doesn't just knock off.
Yeah, no. I was going to say that because while we're talking, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, same thing. Like, my manager's got to be there. They
have to be there.
But then at the same time, there's other things. And sort of like him, there's no bedtime, yeah? I sleep when I know business is finished.
Yeah.
And I'll wake up when the first person gets to the shop. So, like, for example, the thing that carried me across my head is like, before I had to clean out the shops, you know, when I was still early days, I was cleaning the shop. Right. I know I could do it in 2 hours. Bro, we hired company after company. We can't do it in 2 hours. I'm like, why not? Like, it'll take 4 hours. And anyways, I found this guy and he's like, oh, how long do you need to pay for? I'm like, I pay for 4 hours. He goes, what if I do it in 2 hours? I'm like, I'll pay you for 4 hours. He goes, what if it takes me 6 hours? I'm like, I want to pay you for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you work it out.
Yeah.
Because I figured it's fair. I'll double my time. And he does. He smashes it out every night, 1.5, 2 hours, and he still gets paid for it.
Yeah, right.
So for me, it's fair.
Which I think is fair.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's like, what do you care? Like, you put that, 100%. If that's what you decided the price is, that's what it should be.
And so freedom is a huge component to you boys that you want to be able to judge, or you want to be able to take control of your day, essentially.
It's a weird one because I feel like I'm so busy all the time, right? So like even tonight, like I've worked today, then I kind of did other stuff, and then when I finish, I'll probably jump on the computer and I'll do some more stuff again. But I feel free. That makes sense. So it's like I probably work more than some people would probably work. Like the idea of like knocking off, and I know for a fact that you'd be the same because everyone's the same. The idea of knocking off is just not really a thing to me. Yeah, and like I want to watch a movie, I watch a movie. Like that's fine. But it's like at the same time, it's like if there's shit I can think of to do, I'll do it. So there's not like I don't sit there and go like I did 12 hours today. Like even that is bananas to me how people talk like that. Like I did 12 hours. I'm like I didn't count my fucking hours. Like because the reason why I don't is because I like what I do. Yeah, in fact, and I'm free. And if I want to wake up in the morning and I want to go to the gym, then I will. Yeah, and like I say, it's the thing for me is like I've got as long as I'm getting stuff done. Like I don't. That's the freedom to me. So even if I did work 90 hours a week, the freedom is picking when I work them.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point, touching back on Tom's thing, where I guess, with the failure side, or even if anything were to go wrong, that there is that potential chance that you may not be able to make money. Does that scare you?
Nah, my fear was going to a normal job. So like when I've gotten close before a couple of times, and I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to go work for someone else. Like, that's fine. If I did have to, that's just the way it is, and I would save up again, and I would
And then do it again.
Yeah. So it's like that's the thing. I'd go I wouldn't be defeated by it.
Yeah, nice.
And I've been to a point where I'm like, my credit cards are maxed. Yeah, like waiting for a business to open, and because when you start up a business, it doesn't kick off straight away. So sometimes it can take anywhere between 6 months to 2 years before you see any form of income from it. So I've been in those positions where I'm like, I know it's going to come one day. It's not yet, and then it kind of comes in. So it's like that's the roller coaster of the game you played. But there's definitely been times where I've thought it, but my fear was like, oh, I don't want to have to go do things. And a crazy thing is, I always feel like I don't have enough skills.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, what am I going to do? Right. And I feel like, mate, I'm joking. Like I'd hire you to come do stuff for us, but I'm like, I feel like I have my skill set is just like hustle. It's like, cause like look at a resume, it's like what do you do? I'm a hustler. Can you hire me? But I don't have like a tertiary education, or I don't a certificate, or I don't have whatever. And it's like people look at guys like us and be like, oh, well, they've done a great job, but it's like we don't have a formal education. Like I'm sure we do have formal education, you know, but like it's like what we've done and what we do is not. It's not a course. It's not a certificate on the wall. It's not something you can write on a resume. And like, but yeah, that's like get the thing. But another thing that I do a lot is I try to do less of it now because it's sort of affected me in times. But I used to try to have multiple earning pools. That makes sense.
Yeah, true.
So if something was to fall over, say like we'll use the word $1,000. So if it would, I'd have another $400 that would earn elsewhere. So if I lost $600, I could live off that $400 until I got back on my feet. And that makes sense. So now I'm in a position where I actually think that's the wrong way, but like that's what I used to do. And the thing was because what would happen is the $200 shit would need attention, and I have to go over there, and then I would lose off this one. So now I'm trying to do the opposite, where I don't try to focus on the most important things. If that makes the biggest business. So everyone's different. Like I've always been like a finger and pies guy.
Yeah.
And then other people are like, nah, cool business, just try to make better GP on your business. Right. And I'm sort of like, I'm in the middle now somewhere. So
right. What about Asad? Are you like that, or are you like solely, no, I'm going to focus on one business, get that thing up, and going?
No, my main thing's obviously GK.
GK is Glenny Kebabs.
Yeah, I import a lot. I don't know if people know that. Like not gear, just cars. I import bikes from the US, so Harley Davidson from the US. I import Jap cars from Japan, and now we're looking at luxury cars from the UK. So, but you'll never see it promoted. My side hustle is side hustle. But yeah, that's because you know what it is. When we were younger, when I was 18, I used to buy and sell cars, and then I made some nice shopping, man. Back then, anyways, back then, $2,000, I was like, oh man, I made $2,000.
Yeah, 100%.
But now we're not paying with make 20, 30K profit per car sort of thing. You're like, you know what? Why not do it? So I still do now. I enjoy it. I like my cars and stuff. Good money in it. I'm good at it. So yeah, I'll still do my old hustles where I can.
Yeah. I think the big thing is too, you enjoy it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the other thing for me.
It's one of those things I can't lose. If I get stuck with a car and I'm in a position where I'm like, I can't sell it, I will never be because I'm importing them. I'll always be able to sell it at least for buy price. Yeah. I cannot lose. There's risk free. But going back to the other question you said about how people said, you were saying, what do we have to fall back on? We have more than somebody that's employed. If someone's got a job and they get fired, what do they have to fall back on? Right? If me and him are hustlers, we've got two options: hustle more or get a job. But the other
hustle more thing is resonating to me. Even if you say I kind of get better, because it's that's the thing. It's you just hustle harder. That's it. And there's if there's a will, there's a way, man. I always use it as an example, which is crazy. I've said it twice so far, but I'm like, mate, I'll pick clippings off a tree and put them in a pot plant and sell them in a market. There's whatever you could possibly think of is there's ways. There's dudes that and I love when I meet people that make money off random things. Yeah. Explain it to me. Yeah. And not because I want to do it, because I'm just I rate your hustle. Yeah.
100%.
But it's there's dudes out there. This is one recently. A guy hit me up. He was a printing broker. So you get stuff printed. Like your menus or whatever. Printing broke. So he was like, I'll get you the best price, but you pay X amount. I'm like, fuck me. If there's a printing broker, a guy that goes out and talks to different printing companies and gets you a discount and still makes money, you can't get in a position where you can't figure out a way to earn money. That's how I think about it. But yeah. The only thing you can run out of cash, that's what hurts you. That's the only thing that can really put a dent in your side is if you get to a point where, but even then, if you can't, there's no way to access any form of cash. So that's the only way to hurt you. But again, to lose a job, or a trade, look at what happened in COVID. Industry just completely concaved. So it's and even now, as time goes on, look at waiters for argument's sake. Like, and you probably use them, but a lot of people using the tap stuff. That's going to help. Yeah, no, those jobs aren't going to exist. Like, checkout chicks don't exist. So there's a lot of, it's not just in what we do that's scary. Like, I think every job's at somewhat risk, if that makes sense.
You're talking from more from an automation perspective.
For sure. And because people are always looking at ways to how they can make more money in their business. So it's like, I don't think there's such a thing as a safe job, unless you work in the government. Maybe.
No, right. You look at those guys who are like, you know, hardcore engineers and architects, and the biggest companies going bust now.
Yes.
Construction companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like, I don't know. Again, it goes back to, I guess, what I said before, but it's like, it's that idea of like, society saying, oh, like, is this risky? Is it this? Like, what are you going to do if that happens? Da, 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 da. And it's like, and those seeds, especially when you're coming up, like, they're hard things to battle because you're like constantly getting it, man. Like, I copped it so hard. And the worst thing is, and it's like, I feel like I've grabbed my mates out when I say this, but the worst thing is, like, your friends are the worst.
So that's
absolutely much to that. Because everyone does
overcome that though. So that's what, so
you believe in.
First question is, did you have friends and family that were like, don't do it, it's not safe?
100%.
Okay, so
I would say when I was coming up, I would say it was 90% of my friends and family.
okay,
And then once I achieved, it was 90% of them were on board with me. That makes sense.
you had to prove it wrong.
Yeah, and then there was like 10% still kind of worried, but like it's a hard one. It's that's the hardest thing I always think for kids. Like, that's going to be the biggest overcomer because it's like you got your peers and your family.
Oh yeah,
No, just go work at cop. Just go do that, whatever. And it's like, go get a trade, go do this, go do that. And it's like, how do you overcome that?
but how do you overcome that?
I think I believed in what I wanted. If that makes sense. Not myself. Like, I don't think there was obviously I doubted myself, but I think I believed in the life that I wanted to live. If that makes sense. And not money, because I don't think money is always a motivator for entrepreneurs. I think it goes back to what we just talked about, freedom and whatever. That life that I live is lifestyle, being able to go away, doing things I want to do. Like, that for me was like, I believed in that. So like, even when they were like, go get a trade, I was like, I don't want to do that. Like that was actually the burning point. But I don't know, like, what do you think? That was definitely the hardest thing I had to overcome.
Mine was the same thing. Like, 50-50 for me. You know, some people are like, nah, it's not going to work. And I'm like, bro, you got a 9 to 5. Like, what do you know about hustle? Why are you telling me about hustle? Like, you know what I mean? Like, whereas I had a couple other mates who are hustlers too, but then they usually are the ones who are positive. It's the guys who have never had that struggle. Of course, they're going to say you can't do it because they don't know any other way.
Right.
So for me, I don't know. I've always, like, if you know, when I was younger, I've always been very alpha. Yeah. I don't really care what anyone has to say.
Yes.
Like, you know, like, I'll give you an example. I've been, you know, out and stuff, never drank till today.
Oh, really?
Never done drugs. Half the boys, you know, sell bags.
Yeah.
No, I don't get influenced for nothing.
Yeah.
I'm very staunch to whatever I believe in. That's what it is. I really don't care about.
It's a heavy mindset.
Yeah, man. I'm staunch on what I believe in. I could be completely wrong, but
yeah,
if that's what I mean, that's it. Like, it doesn't matter.
But was there a huge influence from your parents? Were they happy with
My
whatever?
parents were alright, but my dad's a business.
Okay.
So I guess that was my he inspired a little bit too.
Very.
Because he had a hard 2 year. Like, originally, if you go far back, like, I'm from New Zealand.
Yeah.
But we went there as refugees.
Right.
And then my dad was a taxi driver. Then became a house builder. Then he had a chemical company. So I see that. You know, I was like, alright, cool.
It's a crazy thing to think because I was actually talking about this the other day. I was talking about like I saw a small guy, and I was like, oh, how come there's no like small restaurants? Right? Because they got their food. Which I don't even like know. Yeah. It's telling me all these different foods I'm like, yeah, make it for me. And I was like, why are they not everywhere? Like, you look at like Afghan restaurants or you look at Asian restaurants, and he's like, because in those immigrant that mentality, that's what they did. So they come here, they start a business. So it goes back to that society thing, right? So in Australia, we're like, oh no, work for the man, do this, do that. But if you work in Vietnam or you live in Turkey, you should do it. Yeah, like it's the other way around. So guys would be like, what are you getting a job for? Like, don't you just buy shop and sell shit? Yeah, and like, so it's like, it goes back to, it's not even like society, it's cultural in a sense, yeah? And I think they're like, no, I wouldn't say it's an advantage in the slightest, but it's like a lot of immigrant families come here and then that's how they are. Like, they're like, this is the only way to do better for them. Yeah. And they do. And like, that's a good thing about Australia, right? Like, a lot of them come in here and kill it. But coming from like an Anglo-Saxon background, like living in the country and whatever, white people are the opposite, bro. We're robots. Yeah, like they're legit. Like, they don't get businesses. Like, I don't know I do now, like my mates are going into trades and stuff like that. Right. But I mean, like growing up, I don't know anybody with a business. I had one friend whose family had a bakery. That was it.
Yeah. No, but it is cultural. Like, you know, from our part of the world, if I'm not a doctor or an engineer, I can tell I'm a failure. Like, all my family friends, the boys I grew up with, like, as in from the family side, they are literally all doctors and engineers.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? But they talk to me like, oh, good on you. And they're always proud of what I've done.
Yeah.
Bro, like, I didn't do what my parents wanted to do. I did what I wanted to do.
Yeah. But your parents, it's like your parents would have wanted you to do that because they thought that was the best. 100%. Yeah.
Well, that's what they thought that it was the best thing back at that time, right?
Yeah.
Because at that time, those were making some decent money.
Yeah. Of course.
They felt that it was safe in some particular way. So then like direct you to there. But I think like anything, when they see that it blossoms and it goes well, they're like,
So how are your parents now? Like, obviously proud of you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
oh, they must be
love
over the moon, man.
No, because my friends like they're looked after now. Like I told them, I'm not working. I go, what? I saw this on the other day, literally on Instagram. I was like, man, this guy's saying the words out of my mouth. Like, it said, the harder you work, the less length your parents have to work. But something along I'm stuffing up the words. But as in we hustle young, our parents can retire early.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it should be, sort of thing.
Yeah, and crazy. That was a full on tangent, but
Yeah, no, it was epic.
Coming back, even just money, I sort of, how important is money? Like, in starting a business, is it fun to have capital, or is there other ways you can get it?
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's
You start like small and then
I do it. So I had no money. Like, so, and my family, I didn't have cash. It wasn't like my family going to chop out for me. I didn't get a loan from somewhere. I didn't get whatever, but it was like, you still got to, like, having now, doing what I do, is like having money to make money is like, that's the saying, right? Like, you need money to make money. But like, I don't know, like if you learn something, so the best example I would use is like, these marketing kids now, these Facebook marketing guys, they just literally just spend all the time watching YouTube videos and then they sell that service to older people who don't get it.
Yeah.
So it's like, do they need money? No, they don't need a cent. So it's like, so skill-based stuff is like very, very much so. Like, I think that that's a hack. Like, these kids are unreal with the internet. I met a dude the other day. This is like a cool story. So literally Friday, I went to Ruppel, which is not far. Oh yeah. And he took me out. So this kid was 25 and he manages YouTube stars, like the Fortnite people, right?
Damn.
Bro, I was meant to go there for like an hour and I was like just on him like the whole time. I was like, so how do they do it? Like, what do they do with the income? Tell me what the t-shirts do. How much merch they making? Like, how do they make this money?
Like all the Twitch
Straight in the flying around private jets, bro. Like, I was like, and they like, what have they done? Like, not to say you should go play Fortnite flat out, but they've just figured out how to use the internet better than everybody else. So I think as you come along, it's like maybe before that, like for me when I was starting up, like I understood just general Facebook marketing or even how to use Facebook. And then before that, there would have been phones. Like people knew how to use phones or whatever. So it's like, I feel like the advantage of you coming up as a kid is like to learn these skills that people are going to need or want further on. Like graphic design, like it doesn't cost much to get Photoshop. Like Photoshop's like $400 a year. And like you can charge $400 for a flyer. So it's like, there's a lot of that sort of stuff, but stuff that we're doing, do you need money? Yes, 100%. Like I feel anyway, like I'm probably talking for myself, but you need money to be able to fund it. But when I say it's not like you need to like be rich, you just need, it needs money to make money. Like
I guess it comes down to what business you want to get into.
For sure.
Because some businesses would need a higher capital investment if you need equipment or machineries or cars or whatever. But coming back to like service-based businesses, you wouldn't need as much money.
correct. And I also have like normally have the better like
the margins.
Yes.
Yeah.
margins and market.
You're not spending with money.
Well, it's time. They're selling time.
Yeah.
Or they're selling like knowledge.
Yeah, and you can hide that as well.
I think where I'm at in my life, it's like if I want to work on new projects, I have to be able to fund them. Or I have to find someone to fund them for me. That's what I'm at. So yeah. What about for you?
No, I agree. I think if it's a physical business with a product, you got to have some coin in the bank.
Yeah.
But if you're selling your time and your knowledge, then there's no cost to you, you know?
What do you think are the fundamentals then for a business to be successful?
That's a good question.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what are the bases that you think that need to be covered in order for any business? Or you relate it back to your...
Do some market research. See what's in demand, see what's not, see what the competition is, see how you can differ from the competition. And this day and age, you know, like so much is based on marketing.
Yeah.
Everyone's got the same, you know, how many pizza shops are there? How many kebab shops are there? How many donut shops are there? But one's excelling better than the other because of the way the market.
So do you think that marketing played an integral part to your growth?
Yeah, 100%. My business wasn't all marketing when I started.
So on that, so like when I was trying to hold off it before. So like when I had a Glenny Kebabs, everyone was like, it was his car thing. So everyone would be like, oh, you know Glenny Kebabs? I'm like, yeah, I'm from Glenny. I was like, I know where it is. And they're like, all the car nuts I knew were going there. So it's almost like you started this like culture for car.
100%.
So run me through that because like I'm interested in that.
Well, the shops.
So now it's not really as much.
I did.
It's still it's. I feel like you kind of connected to a niche. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That kind of like did where
Like that helped a lot. So when we first started the shop, I was like, my mentality is this, and you'll probably agree with, yeah? So you're like, think about like nightclub. You've got two nightclubs opposite each other. One's pumping and one's dead, and you don't know anything about either. Which are you going to go to?
the one's pumping.
So in food business, it's the same. People go out, like, people don't only go out for good food. Obviously, that's one of the main things. They go out for the experience. You know, you've got to have that vibe, that culture. So when we first opened up the shop, I said, told all the boys, I'm like, hey, we're going to keep back in mind. They're like, you're working. I'm like, yeah, I'm working. You guys are keeping back in mind. They're like, wow, but just keep back in mind for me.
So look things when they
Yeah, just for the first couple of days, just because it attracts more people.
Yeah, for sure.
There's place. And it did. More people came. And then I think it was second weekend. And then I'm in the car scene. I've always been in the car scenes. So some of the boys have got RX-7s, which is like, a cool car or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Those boys rocked up on a Wednesday. And yeah, we just kicked back, whatever. Nothing. Like, they just came to say, I support the new business, whatever, kicking back. Next week, Wednesday came along, and just all these random cars rocked up.
Yeah.
Being the new business, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Talking to everyone. Like, oh, yeah, we had this car meets here. I'm like, no, I'm sort of, I'm just going with it. I'm like, oh, yeah, you said that. Like, oh, like last week, all these RX-7s were here. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to tell my mates, next week got busier. And then the thing is, I've always been in the car scene. So, like, when you're involved in an industry, everyone knows.
It makes it easy to do it.
Yeah, it makes it. It's like, for example, if there's a guy called Bob here, and all of a sudden he tries to do a car event, 4 people will show up.
Yeah, of course.
No one knows him. He's got no credibility. I've had that RX-7 and bikes, and people know why I'm like done. So we started this event called Wednesday Night Chills every Wednesday. And on Hospo, usually Monday's the most quietest, followed by Tuesday, and then only Thursday sort of starts to pick up.
Yeah.
Wednesday became our busiest night of the week.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Like people going, I want to but they weren't even car people.
No,
So they're going on the Wednesday.
that's it. So then what happened is we filled up with the car park, cars and bikes is packed. But then other people, like for argument's sake, you guys would come not for the cars, not for the bikes. It's just because there's a vibe there. You might see a couple of your mates. You might go talk to a couple of girls, whatever. Like there's a vibe there. They're like, man, there's a festival every Wednesday. Just go check it out. It's pre-entry. So that's what we sort of
So
did.
did you know that you needed to create a vibe in order for people to come through?
It's like I actually use a different term. So in what I do, like nightclubs and stuff, how you persuade people is you create community. Yeah, it's like it's actually community. So like the thing is like niche community, like they're two massive things. So it's like if you're creating a community where people are like, I feel like so when you're creating a brand, so big Glenny Kebabs, it's like if you're like, I'm a car enthusiast, this is where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like this is my community because this is then people put their stickers on it, they do whatever because they're like, why associate? My personality associates to that brand. That's how you're a good branding guy. And I've done a lot of my branding, and it's like that's what I always do.
Yeah.
How do I attach this to this? Yeah, and like once I attach to it, people look at it and they aspire. So it's like I think that what you nailed is community. You created it quickly, and it's like you think of kebab shops everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone knows you're one because of the car stuff, and it's like what happens is now you've created a community. So if you're a car nut, you're like, oh yeah, we used to go to Glenny Kebabs.
Yeah.
Part of the story. Like it's like when people used to go to Chapel Street.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you go to Chapel Street? No one goes there now.
Chap laps, right?
I used to do chap slaps because it was a part of work. So then on Monday you could tell your friends or whatever, I went to chapel on the weekend.
Yeah.
Because it's like you want to represent what that represents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Does that change for you though? Now, obviously you did Empire, you understand the community side, but now moving to a product-based business, it's still the same, you reckon?
Yeah, the only thing it's not is service. So like when you're like doing service, it's like effectively it's like how good you are and what your results are. But like when it comes to like any brand, like regardless of like whatever you're wearing, right? So your shoes, I wear Adidas because I like what Adidas stands for. I think that makes sense. I drink, I'm trying to think of what I drink. Coca-Cola, actually probably that's
Pussy.
you know what I mean? Like there's certain things like for argument's sake, like energy drinks, like people drink Red Bull because they like what it represents. Yeah, and like there's so many different things and there's like the products are the same, but it's like one has a complete hold on another culture.
Yes.
So it's that's the thing. It's like I don't think there's nothing that you could be like, oh, that's a brand. It doesn't represent something, and that's why they attach to events, and that's why they attach to communities, and that's why they attach to like YouTube channels, and that's what they do all that sort of stuff because it makes sense for them to do it. But like even like barbershops do, you see them now. Some of those barbershops you can't get into them. It's like the guy's Instagram famous, and it's because people are like, well, what that guy represents is like how I want to get my haircut from him because I want to either be aspirational to that guy or I want to be a part of what that represents. Music's the same. It's like everything's the same. It's like end of the day, we're creatures that want to like
To be associated.
yeah. And it's like we wouldn't be all wearing different clothes right now. If we didn't like our clothes represent who we are. Like what we drink represents who we are. Like everything we do, like what we eat, how we live, where we live. Like a lot of these things are like they're like it's outer. Like we're representing to others who we are, what we're about.
So do you take that into consideration?
Where we started. Yeah. Any brand that I do, I sit there and go, I look at it and go, cool. And I'll try like, sometimes it's like a scattergun. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah, I know who this belongs to, but at the same time, sometimes I'm like, all right. Even when I'm talking to like new potential business guys, I'm like, all right, when I'm talking to someone who has influence, I want to know who they've got influence with, and then I want to create a product for who they've got influence to. That makes sense. So I'm like, and that for me, it's like people will be like, oh, how do I get in business with you? Like, you can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't have a community, I don't want to know about it. Yeah, and so it's like, I want to, because you can't buy community. You have to create it. That
Yeah.
makes sense. So
100%.
the most hardest thing to buy or own is community.
So then you're almost saying that the most valuable commodity now.
I think that's the answer. For me, it is. Like, not for every single business, but like definitely hospitality. Hospitality, 1,000,000% is community. Which is a mixture of marketing and all this other stuff. But like, if you can use marketing to create community, you can use branding to create community, whatever it is. It's like, community, in my opinion, is like, there's not a successful place that doesn't represent something. Even like, remember Nando's, like Nando's for the boys? Like, everyone was like, Nando's? When people felt like, everyone was like Nando's, like sweated out at Nando's, like it became this thing, like you catch up with the boys at Nando's, and in fact, they kind of pushed on it, and as soon as they saw it happen, they just went doom, and then it became this thing, like it became like a meeting center, and so, yeah, and like grill's the same thing, like healthy burgers, it's like healthy burgers, and you're helping people with your cap, and like, so it's like, I represent, not only do I feel healthy inside, I feel good about myself, it feels like a positive thing, like say, I don't know, I just don't think there's anything good that doesn't represent something, does that make sense?
That's why word of mouth is still very powerful.
Word of mouth, stupidly powerful.
That's what's created.
If you could pay for word of mouth, I'd buy it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was word of mouth huge for you, Asad?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I like the idea of marketing, but I'm not savvy with it.
Right.
So with us was
I would say that you are savvy with it, man.
I got savvy.
Yeah.
But like, it's always been word of mouth, man. Like,
It's influence.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is? We get the right people to the shop. They'll talk about it in a good way. Then the other friends when I come, and then that other guy wants to go. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about my shop. He only wants to go because he went.
Yeah.
You know, and then he wants to go because he went. People want to be seen and shown at certain places. Word of mouth is huge, man.
And you start to work it out. Like, that's another thing. It's like, for me, it's like, I'll work at things, and I'm like, it's almost like crawling through things. So I'm like, I want to get in contact with that person because I know that he's friends with these guys. And I reckon if I can get him to come, he can pick the alpha.
Yeah.
And you're like, if they come, I'll help him out. I'll like sort him out because he's going to bring 10. And then these guys do this and do this. And especially the club world, I'm like, they play football with that guy. So that guy's going to connect to this guy. That guy wants to date this girl. And you start to like, you think about it like I'm not something. So like, that's in my head when I'm like, how do I to do this? But I'm like, I'm looking for certain types of people. I'm looking for certain types of communities. So looking for certain types of things. And it's like, and then same as when I'm networking. Like when I'm networking, if I want to get in contact with someone, like Asad, even like when you mentioned it today, I'm like, cool. So I like know someone that knows him, and then I'll mention that I want to see.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'll do it. There's like this whole process to it. I don't really go in cold, if that makes sense. So,
Oh yeah, okay. So that's what we're actually taught as well in sales. So
Oh, really?
when like prospecting for cold calling or even just like face-to-face sales, you never want you've got a higher percentage of that lead closing if it's a warm introduction.
yeah, 100%.
So if I say, oh, you know what, Bob from Telstra told me that he would be all right to call you, and then that's how we would. So it's called land and expand, right? So when we were in recruitment, we would try and get as many contractors on the floor. But if we were getting barred, which you always get barred as a recruiter, you would then try to open up the door through saying, hey, I know Asad, and Asad sort of give you
Yeah.
the good word. Then it opens.
Well, you can experience it at
100%.
it's like a different level.
Bro, it's a different level. Like, warm leads is what you want if you're in sales.
And then when you network, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Effectively, because you're sitting there going like, so for me, I'm always trying to meet people. And it's like, to me, it's like, I look at like meeting people and networking as like, it's actual work for me.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you talk about like 18 hours a day, me catching up with someone for lunch, just as important as me sending 10 emails. If that makes sense. So
How do you keep that's a big thing. I think networking is a big thing. And you both actually have huge networks. How do you constantly cultivate a network? Because you may catch up with someone, but they're not like your boy or whatever. How do you ensure that you're always cultivating with them?
I'm interested in what you say, and then I'll answer because I want to be.
I would have a lot of catch-ups. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll reach out to like mates I might have not seen in 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And then I know he's going to have new mates. Right. And it might be somebody I know but I've never met. So I'll look, welcome to being whoever it is, whatever. And that's it. But I'll do it a lot. Like my social life is 4 or 5 times a week.
Oh, wow.
It's still heavy.
Right. Still.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if I haven't seen someone for 3 or 4 years, I'll catch up with them. Yeah. And so I don't want them dead that network. And it's not because I want to use them. That's not the actual reason.
Yeah.
Some people.
Yeah.
But it's like, at the same time, I'm like, all right. But then vice versa. Like, if I had a guy message me yesterday, he's like, hey, doing this event in Gold Coast, I need bar guys. I'll go actively out of my way to get up people I haven't spoken to for years. And that's how you hold it, right? So I'll be like, hey, Simon, like a guy that I used to know from 5 years ago. What are you doing at the moment? I'm working in Brisbane. So I've got a reason to contact him. And then I'm like, I've got this opportunity. Would you like to take it? No, not for me, man. I'm in Brisbane in 2 weeks. Let's catch up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, cool. Then I message someone else. So it's like, even that, like I've got this big thing about like a favor is worth more than $1. So it's like, even if I have an opportunity, like I'll message that guy and like hook him up, because it's like, then I kind of get access to the network. But I do think about how it works, but I don't look at it as like, it's not a monetary thing. So people like, I don't want to look like a parasite. Like it's like, the reason why I do it is I'm like, I think I enjoy it. I get a high off it too. And like, I get a high off helping others, but I also get a high off meeting new people. And I'm like, but it's like vice versa. We're sitting in the same room now. So like in 3 years time, especially because he thinks the same way as I do. But if someone asks me something about whatever, even we've already discussed, I'm going to talk to him about other stuff already off here. So I'm like, straight away, I'll be like, hey man, I've got this opportunity for you. Would you be interested in looking at it? And then he'll be like, I don't know. I reckon you're born with it though. I don't think it's something you can necessarily teach, because I want to do it.
Yeah.
Not that I've told myself to do it. No sense. But I'm the same. Like 4 or 5 times a week, I eat out. I catch up with people. It's important to me. And a guy he's like a mentor me to an extent. He told me that 2 to 3 days of your week should be caffeine again. Yeah. And this guy's my age and kills it. Like absolutely kill it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is a huge one. So we sort of touched on it. Did you ever, well, and I'll ask this, did you ever put limitations on yourself? And if you did, how did you break through those limitations to be like, maybe it was knowledge that you didn't have about a business. Maybe it was whatever it may be, but these were sort of setbacks to you from going forward.
Yeah, no one limited me. I limited myself in the sense that when I opened my first shop, for me, I just wanted one shop.
Right.
I've had a mind change. In the last conversation we had, I've done a 360 completely in the last 6-7 months, a bit more. Again, going back to the networking side of things, so I've been catching with a lot of people I haven't seen in years who've done really well for themselves and done some big things. And without naming them, I'm just like, the guy's an idiot. No, like seriously, like, if he can do this, why am I sort of thinking that? So like with me, I've always wanted to have one shop and do the best in it. So, achieve maximum revenue, squeeze out as much profit as we can, make sure everything's done perfectly. So as a customer, start to end, you have the best experience you can have, whether it's customer service, food, dining experience, whatever it is. And then COVID struck, and then we opened up that second spot by accident sort of thing. And then we opened up the second location, and I was like, okay, 2 shops is not bad, whatever. And now, like, I'm in a completely whole new game. So like, we're building a team. So now I've got a full-time accounts guy working for me, full-time HR girl working for me, full-time media content creator working for me, and a full-time operations manager, and senior people and management guy. So he's actually different. So the other guys are all working for me because I need them to do tasks that I was otherwise doing, right? Or I wasn't doing them well. So I'm not a HR person. As friendly and stuff as I am, when people at my shop piss me off, I'm just like, oh, see you later. But that's not right. I'm learning over the years. You know what I'm doing? I'm burning myself, because this kid's going to go home saying, stuff Glenny Kebabs, stuff him, his family's going to come, his friends are going to come, and I've burned myself. Whereas another perspective is, all right, cool, we'll do an exit interview. The guy's got nothing to lose now, yeah? He can tell me whatever he wants. You're like, hey, just so you know, David steals your drinks, she's doing this, and they'll tell me everything. I'm like, oh, cool, I need the feedback. Or he might tell me, hey, you're a bit aggressive with this team. So that's what we started doing. So I'm getting a whole new element of feedback that I would otherwise never get, because someone put in my head saying, do exit. And I'm like, cool, which is from networking, the guys telling me how they retain staff and stuff. I'm like, cool. So that's one element. So, and HR, I'm not good at it, man. So the girl who's in there now, she'll contact the person after the first shift, after the second week, after the third week, and she'll baby them. But unfortunately, I don't think people should have to do that, but people are soft these days. All right. And I feel as owners, like, we're working on eggshells now, right? So if 3 years ago, if someone's done something wrong, I was like, look, man, like, this is what we've done. I've got to tell them. I'm like, hey, this is what you've done. It's not going to work. If you do it again, I won't have to probably write you up and send you home, sort of thing. Whereas now it's like, hey man, like, I know you stuffed up, please don't do it again, because what's going to happen, there's a shortage of staff and they just walk out. So now we're all it's bad, but they have all the power. They decide the hours they want to work, they decide the pay. You'll make them an offer which is above award wage, but they want even more than that, and you're like, I don't want to pay that, but there's no one else that's going to fill this job. So that's why I've got HR's doing that. Then I've hired this other guy. His job is to teach me now, because he's got 25 years in the industry. He's had his own restaurants, he's had his own coffee places, he's had QSR businesses. He knows what he's doing. So I'm at a stage where I'm like, you know what?
What's QSR?
Quality, quick service restaurant. Right. Yeah. So like grilled meat and those, all that sort of Macca's, all that sort of stuff. But the guy's got his head in the game. I could have found somebody who's a manager from somewhere, but I found him because he's an ex-owner. So he's going to have some hustle in it. And the first question I had to ask him, I'm like, without sounding rude, I was like, you're going to be all right working for me? He goes, yeah. I'm like, you sure? He goes, yeah. I'm like, well, you're a business owner, man. You're a hustler. He goes, man, I don't care. I make my money. You pay me, I'll work. I'm like, all right, sweet. He goes, but I ain't gonna stay in this position. I wanna be GM for the business. I'm like, yeah, no worries. So to cut it up, the perspective I had, 2 years ago was, yep, I'm comfortable. I got real comfortable.
Yeah, that's it.
When I say I got comfortable, I don't know if you know, like, I did not work at all. Business running itself, and I was just I was living life like I'm 19. Hey man, come past. I want to keep back at my house all day. We'll go to lawn for the need. Do whatever.
So was that a good thing or a bad?
Look, it's good or bad. It's good as in like that's what I've always wanted. But then as you grow up, you start to realize it's not what you want anymore. Things change, right? So I've always wanted to be time rich, not money rich, time rich. But you can't use time if you don't have some cash. You gotta have some cash too. So I was in a position where I'm like, cool, making money, got heaps of time, and I was living life literally like 18, 19, just do whatever I want, whenever I want. There's nothing holding me back. But then like my whole perspective's changed. So we're like, you know what?
Why did your perspective change?
My mate opened up 17 shops in 2 years, and he has got no food experience. Another one, it has been in the industry for just as long as me, and he's opening up his 16th shop in December.
So that's the opposite of what we're saying. Like,
Yeah.
that negative peers, that's like positive
Yeah,
peers.
so then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be one of those guys. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get envious and jealous. I'm like, nah, you know what? I was like, you done well. Show me, like, teach me. If I don't know something, guide me. And we all work together, So at first, I was real secretive. These two boys were talking, and he's telling him how much his revenue is at that shop and that shop. And they're like, what about you? I was like, that's personal, man. Yeah, I had a bit of a wall up. Right. But then now, I'm in the complete opposite. I'm the guy, you're like, hey, what's your revenue? I'm like, oh, I'm making this much at this shop. I got nothing. I don't care anymore. I'm past that little stage. But now I'm just like, nah, it's time to grow. Like, now I'm back in hustle mode. I'm like, don't worry about the time. Like, the time will come later. Yeah. I'm enjoying this now. I'm in that vibe again where I'm like, cool. The shop's already running. The business is already running. It's all working. But now it's in that perfect position where I've got my foundation set. Time to grow. So that's why I opened up Mount Waverley. And literally, like, next, I'm telling you, in my head, there's going to be a ring around Melbourne, and I've already chosen the suburbs I want. So Oakley's next. After Oakley's Bentley, then South Yarra, then it's Doncaster, Heidelberg, Campbellfield, and St Albans. And then we'll start stretching out further. So that's the plan.
So to go back, would you say that what helped you come over that limitation was speaking to people?
Speaking to other people, but then
When
it happened to me, for example, I didn't want to open up. I had no intention to open a second shop. The only reason we opened up the second shop during COVID, because my staff hours all got cut down. I started to feel bad because I know them all still personally at that stage, because we only had a team of 30 people back then, right? So I knew, all right, this guy's an overseas student. He's got high uni fees. This guy just moved out of home. This guy's saving for a car. So when they're all working, 38 hours, and all of a sudden you drop it down to 20, they're not going to be able to survive. Like the thing I always tell people, I'm like, listen, I go, if I grew up with $200 a week, I would learn to live on that. If you started giving me $2,000 a week, that'd be fine. I go, I would not be able to live back on 200 though, because my lifestyle's changed.
You don't want to go backwards.
It's not even about God, you can't. Now your phone bills are higher than it was because you thought you could afford it. So is your car, your bills, whatever it is. So with these guys, the whole thing that happened is I opened up Forest Hill as a temporary solution, so at least I can get their hours back. So I was like, you know what, I don't care about the profit. As long as they can keep the hours, they're all happy. And then for me, staff retention, I have to train more people. Cool. But then it became a profitable business where I actually had to hire more people just to get that second location going. But the point is, at that point, I was realizing, I'm like, I've got 2 shops going, and it's not hard at all. It's made things easier. Because the bigger you go, it gets to the stage where things become easier. So like right now, I've got 70 staff. So when someone calls out sick, I do not care. I've got 69 other people to call. Whereas if I had 10 staff and one calls sick, I'm like, shit, I have 9 options. Whereas now I have 70. And as you grow, I feel like it gets easier and easier.
Do you actually have 70 staff in the business?
Yeah, now we've got 70. But that, as you grow, it becomes easier because, like, now I've got the corporate team set up, right? So if I do open 3-4 more shops, I'm not stressed about accounts or HR or content, as in media and stuff. I've already got them on my team now.
So what is your role now? Is it just strategy?
My role is business growth, strategy, locking in deals with, for example, delivery platforms, which are like they're ruthless.
But I said
they're ruthless, but I'm ruthless too. Now, like, I'll give you an example. I won't mention my mate because he'll probably see this, but he's got multiple restaurants, right? Uber Eats came to me, they're like, oh, we want to set up an exclusive deal with it. Uber Eats rorts all of us, right? We're all paying 30% at the moment. I sell you a $10 kebab, $3 goes to him, the rest of half of it goes to the tax man, and I keep a couple of bucks. So they came to us like, oh, we want to do an exclusive deal with you. I'm like, all right, tell me what it is, whatever. And it was good. We'll drop our commission rates by 5%, which doesn't sound like a lot. In a year, it can be like 60, 70 grand sort of thing back in your pocket. So that's good. And then they're going to spend from their pocket 15, 20K on their marketing. So when you open up your Uber app, I'll be number one. When you open up your email and say, hey, order Glenny Kebabs, you get those push notifications from your Eats, will come up. So I was like, yeah, if it's free, I'm done, let's do it. Anyway, so we did that. I told my mates about it because we share a lot of information. Like, hey man, get on this deal. You know, they're going to chop your rates down. They're going to do this, blah, blah. And they contacted him. He's like, hey, you know, my name's this and this. And you know, I've got like 17 shops. So like, I can't help you. He's like, what do you mean you can't help me? My mate's got 3 shops. I've got 17. They're like, yeah, but in the suburbs of Asad's in, he's the highest performing restaurant. You're not. You're a good restaurant, but you're not the highest performing in the area. So like, that's where I'm putting all my goals and so like all my sort of focus on now. So like, long story short, DoorDash does everyone 30%. I'm down to 20. All right, Deliveroo does everyone 30%. I'm on 15. But this
doing them dirty.
but this takes time to negotiate these things, right? Like there's small elements. Yeah, so there's small little things that add up. So for example, me and the accounts guy the other day, probably 3 months ago, someone asked me, he goes, "What's your wastage in your business?" I'm like, sort of like you asked, like that conversation, like, "Oh, how much do you?" He's like, "No, I got money." So it's like that. He goes, "How much wastage?" I'm like, "I don't know." It's like, "Why not?" I'm like, "Don't care." It's like, "What do you mean you don't care?" I'm like, "I don't care, bro. Like I'm making money." I worked it out. I had a heart attack. So in 1 year, we worked it out. It's a minimum of $167,000 a year, and throwing out food and like as meat, chips, and produce and cheese. So now my goal is to obviously find out ways and strategize to make so like that doesn't happen.
I've got a boy
because that's 167 back in my pocket. Hey,
I've got a boy that does purely works on retention for Coles.
Oh really? Yeah. So that's what I'm focused on. So now I'm like, you know what, the business is running. We're creating. My focus is not to increase revenue; it's to decrease wastage. My business, my focus at the moment is not to increase online sales; it's to decrease commission rates. So I can keep where we are now without, like, obviously I want to grow, but I don't need to. I'm trying to fix up everything internally that I haven't had time to focus on.
And that's what you can, then you can start to scale it.
Yeah, 100%. Because if I can fix all those little things up, man, that's big money I'm saving.
For sure.
Sure.
I'm just curious, with like Uber Eats and DoorDash, do you think that's had more of a positive impact on the restaurant community or negative, or is it maybe a bit of both?
A bit of both. Like, when Uber Eats first started coming to us in my old shop, I kept saying no. I'm like, I'm not interested. And they're like, why? And I told them, I'm like, I want people at my shop. You know, I want people here. I go, because it's meant to be a dining experience. But eventually I gave in, because then I'm seeing like everyone's buying online, including myself. And if I'm at home, I'm like, nah, I'm not leaving my house. I'm buying goods, man. Today, come to me. So I was like, other people are going to be the same. Like, they want, you know, GK delivered to them. Yeah. So we jumped on it. And then our in-store sales didn't drop, but our online sales creeped up. So I didn't lose anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it ended up being well. So during COVID, our online sales went through the roof.
Yeah.
As in, like, in-store sales dropped down to 10 because, you know,
no one could leave there.
Live. And but after COVID, after the lockdown rather, our in-store sales went higher than ever before because everyone's trying to get back out. Our online sales did drop, but they still held up pretty high. So they were higher than before COVID. So overall, we won. So like for food, a lot of people on food, you either closed or you did really, really well.
Yeah.
So one or the end.
Yeah.
And so does that mean that you didn't close or it didn't happen because of community? Is it circling back to community?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Well, all our locals will still support us. You know, everyone knew. Like we told people, like in many ways, like we're going to stay open for you. Like we can close too. Yeah, we can go and ask for rent assistance and close up and get all the government grants and the staff are looked after. But we didn't choose that route. We got no government grants, no rent assistance. We stayed open, and it was only because people continuously came to us. You know, like, and it's
I think it's quality too. Though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like the ones that was like really took like the shit shops and like the good stuff right was and like across the board because it's like the stuff that would taste good, people wanted to eat. Yeah. Especially comforts, man, when you're locked in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then do you think that for yourself, people always talk about Bill Tom's question, discipline. They always say that, you know, you need to be up at like 4 a.m., you know, gym, this, that, and then have this right.
I should have said I'm completely the opposite to that.
Yeah.
No.
But do you think there's an element of discipline?
I don't know, man. Like all that stuff, like to me, is a wank. Like into the gym, like I'll get people constantly telling me they're like this, like, oh, I like to wake up when I wake up, right? Like it's like one of my biggest motivators in life is like not waking up till alarm. Hate it.
Yeah.
So I don't do it. Hate it. So and like during like my life, it's been anywhere from midday or 5:30 in the morning. Yeah, like so. But for me, people will be like, oh, you know, 5 o'clock, this, that, cold plunge, blah blah blah. Like, and I'm just like, fuck that. Yeah, like why would I like? And I'm not against it. Like I've done some of those weird things.
Yeah.
And they make you feel good physically and mentally, but I don't think it has any success in your business. Like that's my opinion. Anyway, like there's gonna be people out there that are probably getting pissed off for me saying that, but like 5 o'clock, man, no one's awake, no one's doing cool.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Do it as I like. That's all. And for me, Hospital, the same thing as you. But like
Creativity's at night.
there's more people. To me, I work a lot better at nighttime.
Yeah.
And I also like I think that people want to catch up at nighttime. I just feel like it's like relaxing day. The morning for me is just not the thing. But I can not to say that if you're a PT, like that's like the whole thing, right? Like wake up at 5 o'clock and seize the day and rah. I'm not that.
So then if
I'm
you
not a seize the day. I'd rather stay up to 1 o'clock in the morning and then get up at 4 o'clock. But that's just me personally.
So then if you're giving advice to someone that wants to start a business that completely lost, completely has no idea, what is a piece of, or what are the advice that you can give it to this person that either is, you know, coming out of school, wanting to start a business, transitioning from work or a 9 to 5?
I think the big one for me is like the one that I see people fail businesses. Like, so this is like watching people fail. Is guys that will say this to me. They're like, "Oh, like I don't want to work weekends yet." And I'm just like, it's not an option, mate. Yeah, and like that's like if you're gonna work, say if you're gonna start up a business, you've got to be prepared to give everything to it. Like that's the reality. And like I know we're talking about like how we got time and stuff like that, and you can pick what you want to do, but that's the preparation you really need. So even after losing money, it's like realistically, I feel that if you're willing, the only thing that can make a business fail is you. If that makes sense, because if you want to work every single fucking day and hustle, get like you basically pick off.
Yeah.
You'll make it happen. And like that's my mentality. Like, are you afraid of whatever? I'm like all the time, man. Something's not working well. I'm like, all right, let's get to work. Like, what can I do here? Like, I'll go knock on people's doors. I'll go put pamphlets in things. I don't care what I've got to do, right? So it's like for me, it's like failure is literally not an option. So when I hear people say I'll start up a business, but like I don't like doing the invoices at 9 after work because I'm tired, I'm like, then quit. Go work for someone else. Like that's how I think. Or like, oh, I don't want to work Saturdays. I'm like, well, that's the luxury you get when you win. It's not like when you start. And like the funny thing is, like you talk about like kicking back and how good it was. I go through those phases too. So I'll be like, I just like do what I want. I'm like, let's just 3 days a week, and then I get hungry again. And I love now. Like I'm like addicted to the idea of like starting new things and like that rush and like meeting with people and new opportunity. And then this something happens like this, and it's like every day and I'm pumped up, man. Like I'm like, and I'm loving it. And then it's like once it starts to do well, I'm like actually like.
But is it distraction when you have a plethora of businesses?
Say,
is it a distraction when you have a number of businesses?
Well, not really, because I never work on like 3 at the same time. So it's like for me, it's like when I'm working on something, it's like everything, right. And then it's sort of like goes like the only time it can be a distraction is when 2 drop off. Then you're like, okay, which one do I do? Right. That's when you can lose. But like traditionally, when I'm starting something, it's like I've got one that's humming, and then I'm bored because I'm sitting around, I'm doing whatever. It's a crazy thing to think, and it's like, oh yeah, I've got what I wanted, which is to like do what I want, and then you're like. If you're bored again, yeah. So it's like a weird thing, but for me, it's just like time. It's like I just don't know. I generally don't believe that as long as you're like willing to win, you will win. Like that's my opinion. And it's just like you can't like the only time that you give up. And I'm not gonna say I've lost money, but I've never flopped a business. You know, like I've looked at stuff and decided I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to add my time. So funnily enough, I did a food business. It was like a burger shop. Yeah. We ran it for a bit, did okay, like money wise. And I had to drive an hour and a half every Wednesday. And that started exciting because I did the brand. I was pumped. It was called Got Beef and built the store. And I loved it, right? And then after 2 months, I looked at it and I was like, cool. I drove down here for an hour and a half a week. And I've got a manager in it. So I wasn't working in a thing. I'm like, the only way this business is going to work, like looking at the P&L, is if I take it on as an owner operator. Yeah. I don't want to take it on as an owner operator. I've got to crush this business. That's really the only business I've flopped. If that makes sense. Everything else, I'm like, I've got to a point where it's like making money. And I'm like, well, how do I pivot? How do I find new audience? How do I do this? Like, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like and maybe it's niche. Like, I know I'm just bagging out people that talk about 5 a.m. and certain day shit. But like for me, it's like, just don't quit. Don't give yourself the option. There's no plan B. And I always say to people, like, you can't have a plan B because you fall back on it. It's like Australia, this is really kind of like twisting off the topic. But I actually met a dude who was in the SAS 2 weeks ago. Oh, wow. And a friend of mine. So I went to the army. And I was talking to him, I'm like, you know, because people quit because they can't go anymore in the SAS thing, right? What the camp, whole week. And I was like, I've never really gotten to a position, even physically, where I've like quit, right? Like I'll figure out a way to get through it. I'm like, I'd love to know like at what point I'd get to quit. This is physically not like work-wise. And then he was like, he's like, man, you could do the thing now. But no way, man, I'm not fit enough, right? He's like, nah, you could if you wanted it. He's like, so that's the thing. He's like, you got to want it. And because I saw dudes that were chubby that breezed through it, and I saw dudes that were fit that had kids at home, or they had like a cushy life, or they had something to fall back on because their parents had money, and they're the ones that quit. Yeah, and so my one is like, if you're a kid, it's like you gotta like proper have your heart in there, and it can't be just because you want cash. Like that can't be the thing, right? I want to start a business because I want to be rich and I want to have a Lamborghini and I want to post on Instagram. Like that's not a good enough motivator. Right? You've got to like want it and not take no for an answer, and then I think another one is too, like, a lot of people don't like cold calling and don't that stuff. Like, you got to be prepared to get put out of your comfort zones too.
Yeah, I reckon it's a mental.
I don't know, maybe like I'm a big on that, like visualizing shit in a sense. Like, and I've literally paid out those people and then gone back to it. But like for me, I'm just like visualize. Not that I don't think visualizing makes it happen, but it's like if I focus on it being successful, then it will be. And it's because of what I then do. You know, that makes sense. So I'm not willing to let it fail. And another one comes back to which I think a lot of business guys think too is like, you know, you're talking to your mates and stuff. A lot of it's ego too. Like I look at it like a sport, right? So it's like when I'm with the guys I'm surrounded with now, who I love, like the guys I work with, they're hustlers like me. So like they'll win, and I'm like, fuck. And it's not that I'm jealous of them. I'm like, I want to show them how I can do that. Yeah. And then it becomes like a game of basketball. And like when it comes to business, like I don't want it to fail, not because I want it to run out of money and I don't have to. It's like because I'm like, I don't want to look like a loser. Yeah, like say it's me motivated. I'm like, okay, this can't fail because that's the fear. Like the fear of losing is like what continues me to go forward. If that makes sense. So, yeah, it's a weird thing, but I think definitely it's mentality. Like, because if you're happy to give up, then you will. Yeah, like if you've got something to fall back on, then you will fall back on it. Like that's how I think. So, I don't know. I think that you got to look at it like there is no plan B. If you're probably going to do it, commit to it properly. Yeah, that's how I think.
But you got to make sure you plan yourself out to know that there is no second option. You know, if you know there's another option, you're not going to give it 100% because you have something to fall back on. So if you give it your all, knowing there is no other way out, you're going to give it all. But other than that, like there's obviously the work ethic element. Like a lot of people think, oh, you know, hey, I want what Danny has, or I want what Asad has, but they don't know that, you know, there was nights where we didn't sleep. We gave up our friends' weddings, engagements, funerals, birthdays, getaways. Like I remember, like with me in particular, I remember in the beginning, I was working 7 days a week, 17 hours, 16 hours a day, because I didn't have the staff. I didn't have the cleaning, so I was doing everything myself. That was it. And the boys like, oh, I want to come hang out. I'm like, what do you mean hang out? There's no hanging out. Like, I'm building my business at the moment. And I remember I had caught up with a friend after like 8-9 months, because the first 6-7 months I was just in the Then I took a day off every now and then. And he's like, oh, you're a dog. I'm like, why am I a dog? He goes, I haven't seen you in ages. I'm like, I'm trying to build something on myself. I go, where were you though? You know, people don't come to support you. People will only think with a small mind sometimes. So like like for example, if me and Danny were super tight, right, and all of a sudden he's disappeared for a year, I'd be like, you know what? He's on the grind. Yeah. I'd appreciate that. Like, good on him. Whereas someone who doesn't have that mentality was like, oh, what a dog, he just disappeared. But they don't understand, like, he hasn't disappeared because he wants to cut off his friends. He's disappeared because he's genuinely putting all his time and effort, money, whatever he has into this business to make something of it. So that's what a lot of people skip out on. They're like, oh, cool. This is what this guy used to look like. Yeah. Now he's got a Lambo, and they don't realize there was a lot of shit in between, you know?
So sacrifice is it's almost part and parcel when setting up a business.
Yeah, 100%. If you're going to be one of those guys who's like, yeah, cool, I want to start this business and I'll do 4 hours a day, no weekends, you're setting yourself up for failure, because there's no timing. Whatever you got, when you got to put something in a business, whether it's 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's what it is. It's yours, and then you can reap the benefits later.
I want to highlight that too, because like I didn't say it to you, but it's like I missed out on 21st. I missed out on engagement parties. I was allowed to go there a bit. I remember when I was working Saturdays, so I worked Friday, Saturdays, Sundays forever. And if I wanted, I used to make an effort of it because I've been with my partner for 16 years. But I'd get home at like 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock, and I would wake up at 10 so that I could still be with her. So the sacrifice I took was like, the sacrifice was no sleep, if that makes sense. Or if I got to sleep or whatever. But what I've seen a lot is that people were like, well, they're just not willing to lose anything. Like every 21st, every trip with their friends away, every long weekend, every school holidays, every Christmas. It's like, to me, I like every Christmas Eve for 10 years. I probably had 3 public holidays off in 10 years. I only went away once for 10 years over Christmas period. And so that were the things I did because I wanted to make money. Like I wanted to have the luxuries that I'm able to afford now. It's only now in the last 2-3 years, and I'm 35, that I've started to be able to take those long weekends off, take these things off, and set my business up. So it's like, if you're not willing to, like, I don't know, it's like, it goes back to what I was saying with the mentality of whatever, you got to be willing to sacrifice and not do the same as everybody else, and that makes sense, and miss out. Like, that's a big thing. So, and like working out, like you said, like, man, I've worked on stuff projects before where I'm there at 7 and I've finished at 12 and then I'm back there at 5. Yeah, like that. It's just sit there and be like, whinge about the hours and whatnot, or want a day off. It's like, there's not an option. And it's not all the time. Like, it gets better. You work hard, you reap the benefits. So I don't want to make it sound like a little grim, but it's like, at the start, you gotta dig in. You gotta work hard. Nothing comes easy. That makes sense.
That's true. See, that's not only a business thing though, yeah. That's with anything.
Life, yeah.
If you want to be a proper bodybuilder, sacrifice good food, sacrifice nights out with the boys. There's no drinking. Same with sports. If you want to be a professional competitor, forget about your going out with the boys and wasting time. All you do is train. Like with anything in life, man. If you want to be good at it, you got to sacrifice. And a lot of people don't understand that.
That's a really good point. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is that you've got to.
And I'm going to ask you specifically now, you've got a family, wife, and everything.
Yep.
How understanding was your missus when you were grinding, especially, having kids and everything like that, and also sacrificing, I'm guessing, family stuff or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, how do you convince your missus? Especially there'd be plenty of guys out there that are like, yo, man, my missus wants me here, there, everywhere.
Especially when I worked in clubs. Yeah, bro. I was at club every working in clubs for 15 years. It's a question we get asked to her a lot, and her answer is this: so that's the thing. But I don't know, man. I'm lucky in that sense. Even for me, you saying come here, there's no question. I'm like, I got a podcast. She doesn't say, oh, well, you went home on Thursday, which I wasn't, and you went home on Friday night, and you're going to Sydney next weekend. There's no question for her. It's like, okay, well, you know what you're doing. And it's worked so far, and she literally trusts me and believes in what I'm trying to achieve, and I think she knows it makes me happy. That's the other part. So. Yeah, great woman. Shout out to that. But it's just I think I got lucky there because I think that if you later, it does get more challenging because there's times, again, like you said before, I started up a company called the Food Truck Carnival, and that was when my first daughter was born. And mate, we did 16 weekends over Christmas, so I was away. They'd come with me and stuff like that, but I was away, and then it was every single day to work. I was running the club. I had the creative company. I had no time. I was constantly working. So when COVID happened, it actually sort of slowed me down, and I probably appreciated family life more because I was always so busy. But for sure, man. I know for a fact if I said, oh mate, do you want to go on a Wednesday night? That's I just asked them to give me the last $1. Here, that makes sense. But I can call my missus tomorrow and be like, hey, some guy from Brisbane just come down to the city. I'm going to take him out for dinner. And she's like, yeah, okay, cool. I'll go to she doesn't even message me now about I'm going to go. But she knows that, she understands that this is the process, and she has to sacrifice too, I guess. Yeah. But not just me sacrificing, so it's all her sacrificing too. But yeah.
I'm going to go the direction from you, just to throw you. What? Do you think there's any luck?
Yeah.
Growing a business at all? It's open to you.
There's there's I don't know, it's a hard one because I get offended by this. Is actually a story, but in people who say that I'm the luckiest person that's ever existed, and I'm like, yeah, fair enough, it happened once, yeah, but I've done it time and time again. So it's at what point am I no longer lucky? If I am, I don't know, I don't believe that. And it's but sometimes yes, but I think it all comes back to what you've done. So it's yeah, so I started up the 80 Proof company, and we had a shot that went viral during COVID, and it went absolutely bananas. And now I'm in a position a better position I've ever been in my whole entire life. But that seems lucky, right? So it seems lucky that COVID hit and the timing made sense, and that we come up with the idea and we did whatever. But the reality of it is I worked in clubs for 15 years. I understood how to, I knew guys who understood how to do distribution and logistics. I knew how to brand a product because I'd worked with people in that audience for 15 years. So it's I think that it looks like it's lucky, and it was right time, right place, 1,000,000%. That's the something. And being, again, it goes back to sacrificing your time and whatnot. You got to make sure you're in the right time, right place. I'll put myself in positions to meet an artist that I'm doing in music, or meet a business person, or meet somebody. That's right time, right place. So I'm putting myself in the position. Is that luck? There's probably a small component to it, but I think it's planned, and I also think it's everything because you're not going to start up a someone randomly who's never ever done any form of alcohol or business is not going to start up a product and say boom. It does happen, but you're talking 1 in a billion, yeah. And so traditionally they have some form of background to it. Another thing too, when a business kicks off, you got to be able to understand how to scale it, and that's something that I've done. There's a few opportunities in my life that I've missed out on. I said no to, and people do you regret them? And I said, no, I don't, because at that time, I could never have gone with that business to the point that it went, if that makes sense. So I probably would have capped down and would have fell over. And it wouldn't have been as successful as the guys that took it on. But now I'm in a position where I do understand, I've done my penance, and it's planned preparation and all that sort of stuff at the same time. So I don't think that, I think you can, I don't know, I think it's more being in the right place, right time, opposed to luck. That's my opinion.
Seizing the opportunity.
Seizing the opportunities, yeah.
Sad?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I don't like the word luck because that means someone's just completely disregarded all your work.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
So it gets, I reckon it's offensive too in a way because, yeah. But there are, look, I'm not gonna lie, there are people who get lucky, yeah.
For sure.
Me and Danny could be doing, some project and hustling, and the next guy has just done it, but he just happened to know the right guy. That's luck, you know. Like sometimes you just know the right people in the right industry, and you haven't earned that. You know, some people just meet people because they were born into one particular family or he's made for the particular guy. And it works out for them. That's luck. Luck's not, however, though. Like if he's hitting off something with beverages, that's not luck. The guy's been in the industry for 15 years. That's a long route he's taken. He's learned along the way and met people along the way. Can't put luck on that. Like, that's not right.
You think hype is a good thing?
100%. Hype is the best thing. Yeah.
But what does hype mean? What do we mean by hype?
It's not general, I guess, general sense.
It's only hype if you can control it. Hype is only good if you can control it. So like I've seen things before go bang, especially because I work a lot in music, and there's artists that will blow up and then they have hype, and if it's not managed properly, they're gone. And that's a one-hit wonder, right? You've heard that term. Yeah. That's in everything, sport, business, whatever. So the thing is, hype is great if controlled well, and it goes back to what I said before. It's like when I had businesses, one other offered to hype to say it was a company called Lucky. That's like arguably one of the biggest music industry company, like booking agencies, talent agencies in Australia. So me and the guy who started it were about to go together with it, and then I decided to back out because I wanted to go work somewhere else. I thought I had a better opportunity. Didn't turn out that. So Luke's out going to kill it, and people were like, "Oh, do you regret what happened?" And I'm like, and it hyped up. So he found this artist that blew up around the world. He had a song that went #1, rah rah rah. And I'm like, I didn't know how to fucking control that hype. So if I was in that position that Luke was in, I couldn't have done that. What he did. So, and that goes back to luck, how it's being offensive. People are like, he got lucky. Oh, you didn't get lucky, man. Like, to be able to, it's like, if I give you $1 million, I don't give a fuck who you are. If I give you $1 million, good luck turning that into 5. Yeah, and like, but it's like, someone who does shouldn't be discredited because I had $1 and I turned it into $5 million. Well, you got $1 million and turned it into $5 million. That's another one I dislike when people are like, oh, you got to hand it to him with a silver platter. Like, the only way you can get handed from a silver platter is you're not working, right? If someone gives you $1 million and you turn it into $10 million, fucking credit to you. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, that's, and it's like, I just don't think that people, you should do it. So I think, yeah, that's kind of off topic, but like hype for me is great if you can manage it. It's not great if you let it pass you by, and not able to manage it. But unfortunately, that happens to a lot of people too.
I guess my main motivation for that question was like, although you see these days where it's not in business, but it's maybe like a movie, it didn't live up to the hype. So that's where I got that question from. And I guess it must be different in business, but it's also delivering on that hype as well as managing, like you said.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. You've got to make sure you deliver on the hype. If you G everyone up and then you end up being a flop, the business is sort of done.
Done in like quick though too. Like it's like there's no quicker death than that.
So you'd rather just not have a hype and just sort of push through. But if you set up a hype and then you can't fulfill through, then yeah.
I think it's set yourself up. If you can build a hype and control it and manage it, then it's great. I'll create a hype, but I think that if you get a hype, and like
you know what's not bad? Jumping on hypes too, though. That's not a bad idea.
What does that mean?
We did that. So when we opened up our shop, there was this craze throughout Australia about HSPs and all these politicians behind it, like Sam Destiari and whoever else was. It was this trend. But on Facebook, they had this massive Facebook page with like 150,000 people on it, and they all had the little criteria on how to review kebab shops. If the guy doesn't say brother, you lose a point. If it's not in styrofoam, you lose a point. Stuff like that. So I was like, all right. And it was a hype, and it was a shop around the corner from my house, and they were one of the busiest in Melbourne. These guys were jamming around the line, people right around the corner, massive line of people, like a club, man. Like it's going on here every Thursday after school. There's a line of school kids.
It was like the HSP hype, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. Like this is 2000. So the hype started in 2015, 16. All right. We started the shop at the end of 2016. If that hype wasn't there, I might not have started my shop.
Yeah, interesting.
You know? Because I thought in my head, there's a hype. I'm gonna jump on it and I'll make it better. But if there was no hype, I wasn't gonna really try and create one, because to create a hype around a food item is very different. The only reason it happened is because I guess multiple shops jumped behind it, and then on top of that, I guess some of the celebs, more like politicians and stuff, jumped on board too, so it became a thing.
HSPs were a thing prior to that though?
There were.
I never had one until.
So there were HSPs weren't a thing, but the concept of meat and chips was always a thing, right?
Yeah,
Well, I used to run my dad's company in Hallam, right? So there was
Hallam, not kebabs.
No, not Hallam Kebabs, but no. It was a chemical business.
Yeah.
But I used to go to Hallam Square, whatever it is, for lunch every day, and there was a shop called chicken delish in Hallam. Anyway, so I used to go there, and there's this thing, I still remember now, it's called the Habib Special. So it was chips, meat and sauce.
Right.
This is back in 2012 or whatever. That's a HSP.
Yeah, 100%. What's it called?
But the only difference is someone decided to call it something, and then everyone started to call it, including ourselves. We jumped on the hype, and we also gave it the same name, and we tried to make sure that we fulfill that criteria which all these kids made up to be a good HSP salad sort of thing. So like there was all these weird things that you had to tick. Even the styrofoam is like, you know, bad for the earth. If you didn't serve it in styro, you lose a point. You know, if you didn't give them all three sauces, which is garlic, barbecue, and chili, you lose a point. So like, for me, for example, I would have chose hummus, aioli, and chili, but I wanted to make sure I stay on this trend and this hype, and we went with it. So then we got included in this brand about HSPs, but I don't want to, like, the idea is there was a hype, we didn't create it, we jumped on it, but then we became at the top of it also, you know what I mean? So that was the idea.
I think when you do like with club stuff, like what we do, like all the nightclub stuff, we rely on jumping on hype.
Yeah.
Like we constantly do that. So like hype is like, so like for us, it's like a weird one, but like the artist blows up, and that goes back to the network thing. But it's like you want to have access to all these artist managers and have relationships with them, because if the artist blows up, it happens quick. It's always like boom.
Yeah.
And then like whoever can get access to those guys at the beginning. So there's like it kind of goes like that. So like as they're progressing, that's the best time to make money off it. And then they get to a point where you can't, they're too expensive or they're unattainable. So again, like the same thing. So I guess reading hype in a business is really important.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to like reading hype, if it's good hype, bad hype, jumping on hype, like they're things that you need to do. Like donuts, man. Like how many times a day hyped?
Yeah. Oh, so that's another thing.
Damn,
So what was it? One mate came to me. And credit to him. So his name is Mark McKelly, owns McKelly's. He came to me and he's like, "Hey man, like there's this whole." The word snack pack became this thing. Everything had to be a snack pack. It's either a halal snack pack or churro snack pack or whatever it was. Heaps of things, right? So he came to me and he's like, oh, because he's a chef and he's Italian and makes pizza dough and all that sort of stuff. He goes, oh, I want to make these little Italian donuts and we'll put it into a box and just call it a donut snack pack. Now, I stuffed up. Yeah, like sometimes you don't take an opportunity. I was like, nah, man, that's a bit weird. He's like, no, it'll hit. I'm like, wow, but why snack pack? He goes, because snack pack is the word all these kids are using.
Yeah, it
has to be out. Snack pack, well, snack pack, HSP, it has to be that thing. I'm like, yeah, and I was sort of interested. I'm like, unfortunately, I don't have the space. This is my original shop. I don't have the space. He did it 2-3 weeks later. Millions of viewers, Fox FM, front page of the news, and it became this new thing called the Donut Snack Pack, DSP.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Became huge. So he started that originally at his shop at Pizzeria Express in Ringwood, one of his other shops. Man, home run for him. I was like, I should have. Like, sometimes you jump on a hype. Sometimes you can create a hype.
Can't win them all.
Yeah. So then he created this hype. But then I went to him out of respect. I'm like, hey man, I like the hype. Can I get back?
Kudos, man. Kudos that you were able to go
I
back.
was like, yeah, man, I'll sell you the donuts. You sell them. Like, yeah, done. So now one of our biggest sellers at a kebab shop is donut snacks.
Still now.
Oh, wow.
Our desserts are now almost probably shadowing our food.
Wow.
Like, desserts hit hard.
Have you ever had kind of like that, but like Lucomedes?
Yeah. So we might get onto those now too. We had a supply, give them some.
Had them?
So yeah.
Like the Italian donuts be the same thing. In fact, those little like Greek donuts.
Yeah, there's one on Chapel Street too.
Yeah.
Locomades, it's called.
Look, yeah,
Nice.
they do. There's a guy that does it. I can't remember. They're St. Jerry's now. They're the best ones. And he does like he'll do like Turkish delight ones, like whatever flavor you could possibly think of. They do everything, and they're amazing. You got to get onto it. But yeah, that the hype thing is with food, especially like that wasn't a thing until social media too. So that's a new thing. Yeah. So it's like prior to like I remember like even the burger craze was probably the first one.
Yeah.
But I remember like how I ended up with a burger shop, and like everyone was doing it, and it's saturated. And then I don't know, it wasn't that good of a thing to do. Yeah. And so it goes the other way around. So I saw the hype. I was like, I want in on this. I got invested in it. I'm like, I feel like this is me. I love food, rah. And then it's like food is like, and then now burgers don't really perform like that. It doesn't do as well as what it used to. Yeah. Like, it's a weird thing, man. Like we live in a weird time that like a picture of a donut can go viral and everyone wants to eat it, or like a certain flavor of ice cream can like change someone's life. Yeah. Like someone can make something in a shop in Ringwood, like you just said, and then it can fully change their life.
Yeah, 100%. No, hype's a big thing. You know what's another random hype that came up on Facebook? Because I'm always on random fruit stuff, yeah? So like, you know how this HSP thing had this page? There's another one called Rang On, right? That's about me goreng.
Oh, yeah.
Goreng. I was like, all right. We start me goreng.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, I jumped on that hype straight away before it hit. Yeah, man. Bro, I'm a kebab shop and I sell me goreng. But like you know, you'd think, all right, if I want to go for noodles, I want to go to a Malaysian place, get some nice, genuine noodles. We get our...
Do you sell many big reds?
Yeah, man. I get it from Coles. I go to Coles. I'll make sure there's mee goreng. We don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
So if you're a customer thinking, oh, why is Asad selling me mee goreng for $12?
Yeah.
That's what we sell it for.
Yeah.
And it sells. Like, it sells a lot. We don't shy away from it. You come to my shop, you'll see me growing packets, you know, the ones 70% on the window, on display. People pay for it. And like, not that I'm trying to discourage my customers, but man, like you can get that shit for 70 cents and you're paying me.
Yeah, but you also it goes back to
hype.
But it also goes back to community too, right?
Yeah,
you want to sit there and eat with your friends. You want to do whatever you want to do.
So I tried to combine the two hypes. So, you know, there's this whole HSP hype and I guess that community element.
Has HSP hype died off? Not really.
Nah, it's still going.
Yeah, I love them.
So there's a HSP hype, right? Then you've got this community thing he's mentioning. Then you've also got this Rang on thing that's going on at the moment. So I was like, you know what? I want to get Miga Rang, but then we add a little bit of our meat on it. We add a little bit of tourism, a little touch of like a Middle Eastern vibe to it. That's it. That's that Glenny Kebabs. So combo.
All right. So then how do you guys stay ahead of the trends, or how do you guys make sure that you are capitalizing on trends? Is that have to be
run like
social media?
So exactly, yeah. So you like stay on social media, so you have to all the time. So that's the thing is like, and people again, it goes back to like guys I know who are traders and stuff like, oh, I don't use Facebook. They brag about it, and I'm like, that's good for you, but like you can
missing out on
opportunities. Yeah. So hey, as much as it's addictive and it's negative, it's like if I hadn't have liked social media at the beginning, so many opportunities I would have missed. And it's like, and all the bad promoters that I see are the ones that they stop watching social media or they stop disattaching. It's like, you've got to understand. And I think when you're wearing it, it's not like you're not consuming it as much, if that makes sense. So rather than being like addicted, like a robot, just like, it's like, I'm looking for shit and be like, oh, that's smart. How do I attach that to do this and do that? So I'm looking at it as like social media as an opportunity, as a tool, opposed to just consuming it. But 99% of people are consuming it. So therefore, it's unable to do it. But like, I don't know, man, people want to disconnect from online. Like, I understand that. And you want to go live in the bush, that's it. But I just think that you kind of like stop and you stunt your opportunity.
Right.
I'm like, man, like there's mums out there selling secondhand clothes from Facebook Market. Like, there's this stupid amount of money people make online. Oh yeah, such a crazy space. It doesn't matter what industry it is, but I rate that too. Like I rate like all the hustlers and all that.
This one, I'm not really following along much about your hype question, but I'm curious about this one as well. Is there anything that you can't outsource that you wish you could do?
No. No, so like
for me there is.
I
can't outsource my position yet. I would love to eventually when we go to a bigger company. I want to have a GM, so a general manager, taking on my role. I've yet to come across someone who can have that eye for things. Like I always meet like I'll meet him, I'll meet other guys. I'm like, hey man, well, we're sort of like the same, you know. But yeah, correct. They will not work for me because he himself is a hustler.
Yes.
He wants to do his own thing, and so do I. So the only people I ever meet who I feel like could ever actually do what I can do are other hustlers who will not want to do what I want them to do. Does that make sense?
Well, I would say the same. Like when it comes to outsourcing, it's like outsourcing someone that has the care that you do is impossible.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that you can find some. But there's some people who can do better stuff. Like one of the things that happens to me, and I know it was actually an early question where we talked about something that's like a hindrance, like or how you limit it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been like falling in love with the business. I know it sounds like a crazy thing to say, but I'm like, no, I just love this business so much. Like I'm so passionate about it. So I say no to opportunity. Does that make sense?
Right.
So it's done the opposite. So I think that sometimes it's better for like, and you love something, let it go in a sense. But at the same time, it's hard to do that. Yeah. And I feel the same. Like I'm the same. I'm active in all my businesses. I've always been active. Like I've stepped off things, but I still come back and I help fix it because I think that as bad as it sounds, and it's like I think I'm the best at that position. Yeah. Am I? Very sad. I think I am. But I think if you could find someone to do it 100%, I'm giving this advice. I haven't taken it yet because there's it's a hard one. I don't know. There's not. It's the want and drive and the hustle and the love for something that's impossible to outsource. Like that'd be the only thing I think you can't outsource.
Correct. I think at a stage you have to find someone to do it though. Like for example, if like because you can't micromanage.
Interesting,
right? Like if I never stepped away from my business, I wouldn't be here. I'd be at the shop right now. But eventually, I had to make that decision, saying, "Cool, I can't be here anymore. I need to." My theory is, I don't think you can work on a business if you work meetings all the time. You got to step away. Sometimes, like for example,
so you're wasting.
Yeah, like if you're at the bar selling drinks, who's the one planning who's going to be the next rep and all the you know.
Well, it goes back to your wastage thing there. Like you're in the business, it's so easy to be like, well, that doesn't sound like a major thing.
Yeah.
And you look back at it, it's like that saved 170 tanks.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll talk to a friend about he works in the business he's at the moment, and I'm like, hey man, like I know you got $12 million revenue. Surely there's something you're buying a lot of that you could step out of the business, outsource, as in like say it's like enough, like for argument's sake, and get it cheaper. And then you can get that for 10 cents at like 600,000.
Oh yeah,
you just paid yourself 3 times. So working over the top of the business. And I think that's another thing that's hard to outsource. It's not to say it's impossible, but like for someone to like look over you a bit, like to do that, it's I don't know, it's an interesting question though.
No, 100%. But I'm saying to get to that position, you've got to outsource the smaller position.
Everybody I know who's super successful, like the dudes I know who are like the dirtiest and richest people I know, they've given that away. Like that's the difference between me and them, and that makes sense. So, like I feel like the same thing. It's like,
They give a lot away. Responsibility.
Well, they're now they're no longer running their business. Yeah, makes sense. They've got a guy who overarches their business. They've let go in a sense. Yeah. And I'm in the midst of planning. So same as what Asad just said, of leaving. So like I'm in a position where I'm like, okay, cool. This is the last time I'm going to work actively, like ridiculous in this next business. And what I want to do is get it to a point that it makes enough money that I can get someone to step in for me. Yeah. And then I'll sort of like looking overarching like major stuff, like which is deals and new business and all that sort of stuff. Like, and that's the stuff that makes you money.
100%.
And all the guys I know who've done really, really, really well, like I'm talking $15 million properties and shit, they're the ones who've let go. And it's a hard thing to do. That's a really, really hard thing.
Hey man, I saw on just going back to social media, TikTok, P. Diddy said this is the hustle. You pay other people to do what you don't want to do. That's the hustle.
Here, I got one for you. This is kind of like a weird question, but have you ever heard of imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah. So imposter. So for me, it's like in those situations, like when I'm paying people to do shit, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm cheating them. It's like they're working on my business and I'm paying them to do it, and then I'm like, but like now I don't have to do that. Like I have this. It's effectively like an imposter syndrome where I'm like, how do I get here? Like, when's everyone going to realize and go? And it's like, I'm still like, probably going to be like, hey, wait a second. This guy, and it's a weird thing to feel, but I feel like that a lot. Like when I work, so to go hire someone and be like, hey, can you run my business? It just feels like it's such a weird feeling to me because it's like imposter syndrome.
Just going back to what you spoke about stepping away, is it possible to do that too early? Would that be detrimental?
100%. And I think there's a want to do that too because things are hard and stressful, so you want to like get out of it.
I don't think if you had a new business, you could afford to do that.
No, you can't.
Because if you stepped away and you're no longer the operator or owner-operator, you've essentially hired a manager and they're going to take a big chunk of the money out of the pocket.
And so when I talked about that burger shop, it was, I said, we were working at like 6% or whatever it was, like real low. But I knew that we took the managers out to it too. So it was like 2,500. So I was like, automatically the business does pretty well, take them out. But it's like, we tried to do that. So, and then what happened was when we had an issue, something went wrong, there was not enough profit in the business to like be able to pay for it. So we did that. Like I've actually done that where I've gone, okay, I'm going to start this business with a manager in it, and it just doesn't work. And those people don't give a shit because it's their job. Does that make sense? So, I think, yeah.
Well, you can't outsource is that care. Like if they're just getting their wage, they're only going to care a certain amount within their wage. Where you developed this business and it's like your baby, I guess. You're going to have infinite more care than they do. So that's something.
I think there's a risk also on the other side where people like sometimes burn themselves out too much and then they completely give up. And so it goes both ways. So whether the right time to step out, I think it's when you're profitable and you are looking to move forward. You know, that makes sense.
I want to ask a hard-hitting question. What has been your biggest fuck up in a business? And what have you learned from that?
You go first, I'll go second.
All right. Me, I don't know. For me, it's always doing a staffing thing.
Okay.
And my biggest stuff up is ego, a little bit.
Right.
Right. You're probably similar to me in the sense that I created this business from nothing. It's my business. I'm very emotionally attached. So I'll give you an example, right? Like, you give Mac as a bad review, the manager does not care. You give me a bad review, I'm going to be savage to you because I've taken it to heart.
Hurt you.
Like, yeah, I'm taking it out, man. Like, we did the best and we weren't good enough for you. Stuff you then, sort of thing, right? So, one instance, so I'm emotionally attached in every way. You know, when like the staff throw something away in the bin, that should be thrown away. I'm like, man, what are you doing? Like, I know you don't care, but like, that cost me money. That means something to me, yeah? They don't, like, you're an employee sometimes won't see, like for them it might be like a knife. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw a knife on. I'm like, hey man, like that knife cost me money and I've worked very hard. I know for you it might be 20, 30, 50 bucks, whatever it is, but I worked really hard for it. So like I had a short fuse and I regretted it because like I said, I've changed my perspective a lot on things, right? Like for example, if you were working for me and you quit, you know, he gave you a notice and you quit, whatever. I now would be in a position where like, hey, we appreciate your time with us. If you ever need anything again, any employment, come back and we'll work it out. And what I've done is now I've created an opportunity, and it just happened to me literally today where a guy left, And he's come back and he feels welcomed and he's already been trained and I need him and he's going to be excellent for me. Whereas in the past, you know, you'd be like one of my main guys and you'll quit and I'll take it personally. But I shouldn't. I'll take it personally because I'm like, nah, you know what, man? I go, like, I taught you everything you know. I go, you didn't have any friends. We created your friends. You were very weak maybe with your communication skills. We brought you out of your shell. So I feel like I've done a lot for you, right?
Interesting.
I go, yeah, I paid you for your time, but I've done a lot for you too. And then this is what I'm saying. I used to take it very personally. So you're like, hey, so I'm going to quit. And you'll have good reason. Hey, like, you know, you're doing an engineering degree. You're not going to work at a kebab shop for the rest of life. You're going to have to get an engineer's job. So I used to take it personally. So like, yeah, like whatever. And I had a really bad attitude. I was like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, you know, don't even bother coming next week. So, like, I would. I'm like, no, bother coming next week. Today could be your last day. No, I wouldn't be like piss off, but like, I get butthurt about it. I'm like, you know what, man, I'll go, you're going to quit, that's fine. Don't worry about next week. Not as in like, you know, like I want to bash you. Just don't worry about next week. More like, I don't need you. I don't need you. Don't come back next week. Today's your last day. Thanks for your time. No,
Get out of here.
But now I've created this little bit of like awkwardness between us where even if you did want a job with me again, it's not going to come up. And if he wanted to refer people to work for me, he won't. So I'm burning myself. And I did this too many times where I had good guys who I probably should have done it like a nice exit interview with because they probably would still be working with me today because during COVID, I can almost assume they would have been made jobless and they would have come to me, but they went elsewhere. So now I've started taking this approach. So I had this one kid who quit 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, whatever it was. Good kid. You know, we trained him well, spent a lot of time. And that's the thing. I did a lot of training one-on-one, you know, because like, you know, if you're a grill worker, I probably didn't do it. If you're a kitchen hand, I didn't do it. But if you're customer service, I'm on you because I'm like, bro, see how I'm talking to you? Like, yeah, I'm like, I'm not talking to you like that because I like you. I'm like, I talk to my customers, like I talk to everyone. I go, create bands up, but don't be rude. I go, if it's an older guy, don't say what's going on, cuz. But I told him, if it's a young guy, say it. Say what's going on, cuz. I go, we're not a formal business here. I go, be informal. I go, but be yourself. Whoever you are. I go, if you're funny, be funny. If you're a bit awkward, show them you're awkward. I go, be yourself though. So with this kid, I was like, look, man, thanks a lot for your time. I go, anytime you ever need work, you let me know, blah, blah. We went to Bunnings. I think we worked a bit hard because we're not savage on our stuff. Yeah, you get your breaks. We give you short hours if you want short hours. We're pretty reasonable. So today he messaged me, he goes, hey, Asad, were you serious about giving me another job? I'm like, yeah, of course, man. So like the fact that I've changed my perspective and the way I've approached people and how I conduct, you know, exit interviews or whatever it is, it's better for me. So what I did before, I burned way too many people was when I did get short-staffed during COVID, I'm the one who got affected and I'm the one who had to then start working full days again, you know, from 10:30 to 1:30 in the morning. So that's probably the biggest stuff I've done during my whole 5 years, burning people. Like, as I'm not burning people, burning my relationships.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good insight. And mine's kind of the same, but different. So mine's emotionally being invested, same sort of thing. So for me, it was like the other way around. So like when I had partners or whatever, it was like I would get so emotionally invested in what I'd done for them, so that I couldn't focus on the business part of it. Does that make sense? So like in a sense, like for argument's sake, like it would be like, all right, so I'll put everything into it. So I'll put everything into a business, and then they're like, all right, cool, well, we're going to step this back or do whatever. I'd be so offended. So I'd be the other way around, and then I would react in a way that wasn't potentially like business related. So I'd get the same sort of thing. Like, say we do something and something didn't go my way. In an example, like I'm trying to think of an example without putting people.
Yeah, I got you.
So I'll give you one example. So I was working in a position in the business that I was working in.
Right.
And so I was doing stuff on the outside, and I should have been punished for succeeding.
Yeah.
But basically, whatever happened, there was a conversation with the other owners group that I was, even though my KPIs were still exactly the way they should have been, and nothing was down, they basically decided that I was killing it in other places, so therefore my pay should be cut. And so in that situation, even though I don't agree with it, whatever, but their mentality is probably different than mine. So they were in a position where they were like, okay, cool, look, we're going to cut your pay. And I took that so fucking personally.
Right.
I was like, how fucking dare you?
Yeah.
I've missed birthdays and parties, and I've been here, cleaning up at 5 o'clock in the morning and making sure things are prepared. And I was like, so rather than looking at it as like a job being paid as the role in the business, I was too emotional. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But then you go to the other spectrum of the same thing. When people leave, and I'd be offended and upset, and I'd cut down bridges and stuff. Or I'd have a situation that could have been avoided easily.
Yeah.
And it was like I escalated it because I was so offended emotionally about how it ended that I completely burnt.
Yeah.
Ever be able to do it again? It's like, and it could have been as simple as this the next day. And sorry, you know what? Like I don't see eye to eye to you, but maybe you're right, and sort of accepting. So now what I've learned from that, I'm really big on accepting. There's two parts to it. One is that I try not to get emotionally attached to businesses. So for me, it's like I work there, and it's my job.
Yeah.
So and I work as hard as I can, whatever. But at the same time, it's like there's other partners in the business, and everybody's sort of working the same thing. I don't want to be stupidly mental. It's a business in the end of the day, and if I want to sell it, I want to build it up. So I kind of go into the businesses now where I'm like, there's an end goal. So it's not like I'm going to attach to it because it's a part of my personality. I'm going to work on it forever. That's one thing. And then the second thing is too that I look at everything like a business deal. So I don't look at it as like, if I've worked, that's on me. I decided that. It's not, and so if I've decided to stay back and work hard and do all this sort of stuff, I can't then blame you and be angry at you because I decided to do that, if that makes sense. So I kind of take on whatever I decide to do is like, it's part of my merit and how I earn it. I know it's a bit confusing when I'm trying to explain. It's just trying to like, it's so hard to make a good decision in business when it's so emotionally attached to something. So for me now, it's like separating the two, if that makes sense. And like, that's made me more money. Like, that's the thing. So yeah, be able to be like, oh, well, cool. And look at opportunity and be like, okay, yeah, I love this, but this is a better opportunity. I'm going to burn this. Yeah. And then going to people and being like, hey, look, I was explaining to them, being very black and white. Hey, I love being here and this, and this. And it's not arguing, not doing whatever, and just, or not making an awkward situation, just being really transparent and be like, I'm making this decision because, and people can feel that honesty. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Like, I guess the emotion to it, if that makes sense. But yeah, but I think it's hard one, man. Like, being not emotionally attached to a business is, I would say it's like the same as like a relationship. Yeah, because you're in your heart. So you get upset. And same as when you're working with someone, like, especially if you're working them directly, it's like, it is a relationship. So when they leave, you're either like proud of them or you're like pissed off. Yeah, and it's hard not to be. Yeah. But yeah.
You mentioned about bad reviews. Yeah. It's sort of like a contradiction to that question, but is there anything, especially in door industries, bad reviews are kind of inevitable? You're gonna get trolls. So
yeah, it still pisses you off though.
Yeah. You get dislike on YouTube video and got no idea why I did job at night. But you didn't use any good advice to someone that is in that situation, that thought that maybe their first bad review.
Yes, definitely. Me, between all my circle of friends with guys, a lot of my mates are in restaurants, yeah? They made it this thing that every time they catch it when I was there, for example, they'd sit and go through my reviews because I'm savage. Like, savage.
Oh, you'd argue with them?
Oh, bro.
With the customer.
Yeah, bro, you give me a battery, I'm abusing you. I'm abusing you about family, your culture, I'm abusing you. Like, because I took it personally, right?
Yeah, right.
So, like, but within reason. But I would know who's who. So, for example, if you're a kid, and you drop the review saying, the food was right, they were missing my chips, 3 stars. Like, fair enough, like, we stuffed up. You know, but then I get some moron. It's like, food was amazing, loved the service, great restaurant, parking was shit. 1 star. I'm like, parking was shit. I'm not a parking shit. So I'd message him and I'd abuse him. I'd just go off. I'm like, I don't know if you're like dumb or retarded. I go, you pick one, but like, we're a restaurant. And then then they'll respond to me again.
Right.
And then, but I want to get to the point though, because you're saying, how someone will deal with this.
Yeah.
Because I dealt with it the wrong way. It sounds all funny and stuff now, and I'll tell you why it wasn't good. But I went on, and I did this a lot, but like, I can probably pull out my phone right now. Most of them are still bad responses from me. Right? But I would abuse them. Like, I would make you like really start to think like, am I a decent human being or not? Like, I would really like abuse you. And I got funny, but I'm saying like they were funny enough to the point that the boys were actually going out of the way, like, hey, listen to read your Asad's reviews, and they would read them all. And even after this, like, have a Asad, I was savage. I'm like, go back about a year ago, and I was pretty brutal to people. But then I would never, ever recommend that, because only maybe 6 months ago, someone brought this to light, and they're like, hey, man, they're talking about my reviews, and he goes, bro, if you go to a restaurant and you have a bad experience, what would you do? I was like, I don't know, not much. He goes, would you go back? I'm like, yeah, if the boys wanted to go back, I'd go back, He's like, would you go back if you left them a review and the owner abused you? I was like, nah, no way. He goes, then why are you doing that? What do you mean? He goes, these people half these people leaving bad reviews because they're just hangry. People get hangry. He goes, so these guys might have to wait 5 minutes extra, or his drink might not have been as cold because the driver took half an hour to get there, whatever. Because there might be petty things that are out of your control. You genuinely we're not Maccas and stuff, right? Like, if you ask for a kebab, I don't have the option to pull it out from the steamer. We have to make it fresh. So I know our meal is prepared fresh because I don't have another option. We don't have chip warmers at any of my shops for this reason, so we make sure the chips are fresh. There's no chip warmers. So, like, I know our food's made fresh. If it gets too cold, it's more than likely that the driver has just taken his time to get to you, and unfortunately, it's out of our control where drivers can have 2 deliveries. They're going to deliver your food first, send yours. By the time your food gets there, man, it's been half an hour. Like, it's out of my control. So that's the lens I'm looking at it from now. I'm like, okay, these guys aren't abusing me. They're just pissed off at the situation. Yeah. And I'm not responsible for that situation in most of these cases. And some of them I will be. If someone's like, hey, you know, whatever. They left out my soft drink can. My bad, you know, like, we'll refund it too, no stress. So then the guy's like brought it up. He's like, would you, like, why? He goes, you wouldn't go to a restaurant where the owners abuse you. I'm like, of course not. He goes, so then you're abusing them. I'm like, yeah, because I'm getting annoyed. He goes, but he goes, who is this affecting? Like, there's only one person this is affecting. I'm like, yeah. He goes, it's you. You're the one now cutting them out. He goes, not only will he not come back, I'm more than likely he's going to tell his friends and all family, hey, don't go to Glenny Kebabs because the guy's, he literally abused me on Google. Like, it sounds funny to us, but in that scheme of things, like, it's not. They're like, oh, really? Okay, no, we're not going to go there. And we were talking about community before. It's going to get out very quick. If there's one of those kids left me a review and his parents see it and the parents talk about it at the local school meeting, Glenny Kebabs will not be a local friendly place anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I that's one. So the question was, what would you say to somebody how to react to the bad review? Take it on the chin, take it as feedback, try and ignore it and keep emotion out, because that's one thing I stuffed up hard on. That's a big regret I have, because now I don't deal with my reviews. I've got my media team dealing with it, and she deals with them, whether they're good or bad. And then she gives me a printout at the end of the week of what to work on. So if they're good reviews, she'll leave it and she'll like, thanks guys, you know, thanks for the review or whatever. But if it's bad, she'll give me a list and then we'll see what's legit, what's not. So yeah.
The worst review I've ever had was I was doing a festival and someone wrote, and I was like, you fucking kidding me? They wrote, food was great, like drinks were cold, ambience was awesome, a lot of people, but it was too dusty. And the crazy thing was, man, I was like this, so like, too dusty, fuck. And so I'm out the back, I'm out there with a sprinkler, like spraying on the dust, trying to make the dust look right. And my mate's like, who gives a shit? So the advice that I got from someone, so I was on this festival, I did the Oktoberfest at Cryle Castle, which is in Ballarat, cool event anyway. And I was getting bad reviews because we kind of didn't, I guess, we made some mistakes basically, right? And we had like big lines for bars and like everybody was in there, we're like just serving beers out, trying to get the system okay, and then we did in the end. But I was getting bad reviews the next day. And I was like sick, like, and only a business owner will understand this. It's like I was so physically ill, like I didn't want to leave my room I was staying in. I didn't want to look at Facebook because it was making me think, because I'm like, I've just completely fucked this. All these people are angry at me. I'm getting all these bad reviews. Yeah. I spoke to this guy and he was like, how many people went there? And I'm like, oh, 4,000 people. I was like, cool. Countable reviews. I was like, okay, sweet. So I counted and there was 40. He's like, it's 1%. He's like, who gives a fuck? Yeah. Yeah. And he's like reply back to him and take it as feedback and next year you fix it. He's like, but who gives a fuck? He's like, what about all the other people that had a good time? And for me now, it's like, I actually look at it as like a way thing. So it's like, if you're getting more bad reviews than good reviews, you don't get good reviews. People don't give you good reviews.
That's the thing I was going to say.
If you're getting more inundated with bad reviews, then you know you're doing something wrong. If you're just kind of getting gradually, it's like you take them as a thing, and you're trying to fix the problem. But the thing is, people are jerks, but that's the reality. And so people honestly go online. Like, I've actually made an active thing now. Like, if I love somewhere, I'll go online and I'll fucking do a review. I'll be like, 5 stars, awesome service for not all heaps. You're not going to make it like on some minor, but like 3 times a year. And the reason why I do it is because I own a business. Yeah. And I know what it feels like to not ever getting fucking good reviews. Yeah. And so, but you're right. I only do it because they're like,
yeah, you're right. People do it when they're mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like a motivator. Like people like, and especially now everyone's got like, especially like, I guess it's the Karen generation, right? But everyone's voice is important.
Did you say Karen? Yeah. This is right off topic a little bit, right? Have you heard of the restaurant called Karen?
Yeah, Karen.
Oh, man.
Do they want good reviews or bad reviews?
I don't get that.
Because they want to be there. Oh, I had a goal. I hit my goal. So I saw this all over the news. Oh, you know, like they're going to be rude to you, this and that. I was like, no worries, challenge accepted. I'm like, boys, I go, let's go here. I want them to kick me out. Like, I want to be rude back.
Yeah.
So they got some rules. So they won't talk about sexuality, they won't talk about religion, and they won't talk about politics. Yeah. And racism, sorry. So but otherwise, like, if you're ugly, they'll tell you ugly. If you're fat, they'll tell you fat. Like, they'll pick on you.
Legit?
Yeah, they'll make sure. So, like, no, I didn't get to learn. I only know this from one side. Online. Not only did I not get kicked out, bro, they barred me at the door. I was that rude.
Yeah.
I felt so accomplished.
To go into Karen.
Yeah, let me in. Because like, I was so often away. Like, I didn't realize. I thought it was. I didn't realize she was pissed off. I thought she was going with the theme, so I kept going.
It's so weird because like,
I don't get the whole idea of it. Doesn't make any sense.
It's a novelty thing. You know what?
Yeah.
If us four were bored right now, we'd be like, you know what? Let's go. If we haven't been, let's go just for a suss. See what it's about. I would never go back. I'm not going to go to a place to get abused. But like, that's what happened to us. It's very cringy there.
Acting, and it is. I've seen it on TikTok, and it is kind of cringy. I know they've got a market there.
Yeah, 100%. It's like I said, it's a market. People will go if you're bored and just genuinely just curious, like how bad can it be? Let's go suss it out. So I walked past once just with my mate. I was just curious to know what's going on. So I was like, oh, let's see what they say to the group. And the group's like, hey, how are you? She said something, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, how are you? She's like, I didn't say how are you, I said who are you? I was like, oh, that's a bit cringy. Let's get out of here. Anyways, the day we went, we rocked up, and half the tables were full and half were packed up. So this girl comes out, she goes, what do you want? Like, it's that theme. She goes, what do you want? I was like, what do you think I want? I'm a smart ass naturally. I'm like, what do you think I want? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I want food. She goes, okay. I'm like, anyways, I'm like, you guys are halal, yeah? She goes, yeah. I'm like, yeah, good. I go, I want that table over there. She goes, yeah, we're closed. I'm like, yeah, no, you're not. I'm like, she's like, yeah, we are. I'm like, there's people sitting there. She goes, we're closed. Are you stupid? I'm like, and I have this thing, I said it earlier before we catch up. I have this abusive thing I say to people. I'm like, are you retarded or dumb? And she's like, oh, hurry the fuck up and give the fucking table, you dumb cunt. And she's like, don't come back here again, banned. I was like, ha ha. So I'm like, when I said that, I was like, that's right. She's like, oh, you're banned. So I was like, oh, she's obviously going with the thing. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you're just dumb or blonde. Get me a table. Oh. And she's like, get out right now. And the boy's like, let's go. I was kind of like, oh, looks like it's a thing. And the brand was like, bro, she's pissed off. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I beat my, like, I wanted to get kicked out. I didn't get let in.
That's just like, it hit the.
I couldn't tell if, like, she was pissed off or not. The boy said she was. But then going back to the question, that's the only restaurant I think there is where I don't know if they want good reviews.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
There probably was good reviews on the experience that they're providing, and they're providing like that.
Yeah.
Nail that.
Yeah, but I think they'd be wanting bad reviews just so people want to go see it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're like, I would think if I own Karen's, I'm like, oh, I want all 1-star reviews so people realize how bad we are, so they can come and see it.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a,
And then think, oh, it's a crap go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's awkward. It's weird. I don't know what they would want. Yeah.
It's like even with the review thing, another one that gets me is like when people write shit, right? Especially for small business and stuff. I'm like, when what? When a small business, like, and people write these horrible things to people. Like, say someone runs an event, like I've done events and I've done them to like a large scale. But people like run a small event, like it might be like mum running a market or some shit like that. Rinse them. I'm like, you're a dog, man. Like, they're supposed to put all their time and effort into this. Like, and I get you like had a shit time, but like inbox to pay him, dude. Like, don't like rinse them online. Like, and that's what I mean. That people some people suck, man. And they're the same people again that don't want to have a go at shit. Yeah, and that's but yeah.
See a lot of that on like Facebook groups, like
there's community ones. People who rinse people. Oh, yeah. They rinse their business. They're like, I didn't get a Coke, and they just like full. Oh, doing some worse.
Name and shame.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't get my chips. Yeah.
When they'll say the burger was 0.1 degrees too cold, and
all people start a new business and they'll be like, I had to wait for some minutes.
I'm gonna share this with you. I remember. So when I was at my old shop originally, at 2017 maybe. When I got bad reviews, like I took it personally. Yeah, I will Facebook you. I'll find you on Facebook. Your name will come up. I'll be like, Shank, it's cool. I'm gonna find you, and I'll find you on Facebook, and I'll message you. I'm like, hey man, this is when you don't say anything. I'm like, why do you leave me a bad review? So I'm like, hey, how you going? I'd try and act nice so you can have a conversation with me, and then I'll leave you. So I was like, hey, Shank, I noticed you left us a bad review. What was unpleasant about your experience? And if you accepted, they'd be like, hey, what happened? I'm like, anyway, this one guy left me a review, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna suss him out. He was the owner of another kebab shop, and now I'm like, I don't know if I told you that. I'm like, that's dirty. So you know what he's doing? He's trying to put himself up by trying to bring somebody else down. And that's wrong. I would never do that to another businessman. So I found out who he was, and it was a guy. I'll say I don't really care at this stage. It was called Flemington Kebab House. So I messaged the guy, I'm like, hey, how you going? He goes, not too bad. I'm like, I noticed you left me a 1-star review, and you're an owner of another kebab shop. When did you come in? He goes, on the review. So for what I'm saying, sorry, he left me a review. I responded on that, and he's like, oh, I came in on Thursday or something like that. I was like, I was working Thursday. I don't recall seeing you. What was your order? And he couldn't say it. So that's when I DM'd him. I found him on Facebook. I DM'd him on Facebook. I'm like, blah, blah. He's like, oh, sorry, man. It was, no, sorry, he didn't respond at this stage. I was like, all right. So I just found out he's the owner of Flemington Kebabs. Screenshotted it, put it on the HSP page, that one with 150,000. Like, hey, guys, guess what just happened to me? I'm the owner of Glenny Kebabs. This guy, with his name and details, has gone out, like the audacity he has to go out and to leave a poor review for another competitive business. Oh, that's foul play. It's low, you know. And I put it out there to people jumped on this and they abused. Like, oh, what a piece of shit. This and that. Like on the post that I made.
Yeah.
But then the guy inboxes me, brother. I'm really sorry. That was by mistake. I didn't mean to press 1-star. I meant to press 5-star. I was like, really? He goes, yeah. I'm like, but you left a bad review. Yeah. Like, why would it be a 5-star review if you got a bad comment there? It's like, no, it was a mistake, you know, blah, blah, blah. Please delete your post. All these people are leaving me bad reviews now and they're abusing me and this and that. I'm like, I shouldn't have done it, man. Anyways, it started like pretty much crying himself out bad and deleted it. But the point is, the fact that I used to investigate who reviewed me, I found out like that's a dog move to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
But he learned his lesson, man. He copped so many bad reviews from people after that.
Is it good or bad? And like, when can it be good and when can it be bad?
I don't think competition's bad. Like, I think it's a necessary evil.
Yeah, a necessary evil, you reckon? You don't think it's a motivation as well?
No, I'm saying it's like you're just gonna. What I say, I shouldn't say evil, but it's like you're gonna have to have it. Like, it's what it is. Like, that's just the world, right? But I don't know, man. Like, the negative with the thing is for me is like, I guess it's like how you deal with it, like how you like kind of approach it. For me, it's always like I always want to be ahead. So everything that I do, it's always like I don't want to copy my competition or like do whatever. Like, I want to be that one step ahead. But at the same time, it pisses me off when they copy me because it means I can't get the money in that gap. That makes sense. Like, so for argument's sake, I started up when I started the food truck carnival in Berwick. The first one I did was 55,000, and then straight away people started copying me. I was like, dude, give me like a week, please. Yeah, and so it's it depends on how the competition sort of starts. But if you're like at a strip and there's a kebab shop and you're a kebab shop, of course you're going to be, especially if they come in and move in there, you're going to hate it, and it's going to make you work harder. You're going to do better. But I don't know. It's funny because I've got a friend of mine who. We run clubs nights together, and there's a deal with him too. So there's another way, and I start up a night. So he was like sort of like doing okay, and my night wiped his night out. And he came up to me and not wiped it out. I was like probably on the progression of downhill, whatever. And he came up to me afterwards and he was like, "Oh well, man, I'll get you next time." And I was like, "That is definitely not." And he was just like, "Oh," it's like he looked at it like, "Well, nothing personal. You just beat me in this game.
Yeah,
I'll get better. I'll work on it hard, and I'll get you next time." And now this dude's absolutely smoking it. So it's like, yeah, it's like not necessarily beating the night that I created, which I've now left, but he's doing really, really well. So like the lesson that he learned was when he got beaten, he learned lessons from that and then went and did it. So I think it's good. It's good. It's not bad. It's definitely like it is what it is. But like people can be bad competition, and you can have good competition. And that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah,
it's how they react. Like the example of the story you just told before about the guy, like that's bad competition.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and to beat someone like head to head and be fair and not just having a better product, a better offering, better marketing. There's nothing really wrong with that. It's still hard to swallow sometimes, but it is what it is.
No, 100%.
The other perspective is competition is good for consumers.
Yeah.
Force people to make better products and maybe lower the prices.
level up service. 100%.
And then it's a winner for the business if that better service.
Yeah, I'll give you 3 examples of this thing. Have you been to Thomas Street in Daniel? They call
of course. Well, that insurance, yeah. We go the whole time at
Thomas Street. So if you go to Thomas Street, in Daniel,
there's like
and he'll
Afghan
Where all the Afghan bread.
Afghan baby. That's competition, right? But what that's done is drawn so many people. Oh, I don't live in Daniel. Yeah, I'll go on my way to go to Thomas Street.
Same.
So what it's done is because there's so much competition, it's also created a huge amount of people to go out of the way to attend to these businesses. So that's a way where it's worked out well in their favor, right?
Competition.
It's good competition, and it's created business for one another by having that competition there. So that's number one. There's another aspect, though, I suppose, in my case, what happened is when I first opened up my shop, remember that story I was telling you, there was a kebab shop with a line around the corner?
Yes.
I became their competition, right? And they were my competition too, because when I stepped in there on that little HSP page trend where I was telling you, there was like the four busiest kebab shops in Melbourne. They were one of them. So it was Kebab Time, Centreway, but it was in the western suburbs. There was Viva Kebabs, which is in the city, and there was Jimmy's Kebabs, which was in Boronia. So I'm in Glen Waverley, 700 meters away from one of the busiest ones in Melbourne. So when we first opened up, I'm very competitive. I love competition. I love competition because, you know what, like you said before, if you're going to do something, I want to make sure I can do it better.
Yeah.
Or if I can't make my product better, I'll do the marketing better. I'll do something better in one way or another. And that's what drives.
It's like sport, we said.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what pushes us to go to the next level, right? Like if I don't have competition, I'll just do what I'm doing always. Whereas if he comes up and does the exact same thing as me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to level up now. Like, change something. So that's what happened. We came in. So these guys were busy because they were just the one place that had good food, well priced, good location. We came into the same area, same food, same location, but with a vibe. So what happened is as soon as we popped up, they died. So what put me in competition is when I spoke to my meat guy at the beginning, I'm like, oh, how much like meat do they go through? I was really curious. Like, how much meat do they go through? And he's like, 1 ton. I was like, a ton a month? He goes, nah, brother, a ton a week. I was like, well, a ton a week? He goes, yeah. I was like, no way. He goes, yeah. 3 months later, we're doing 3. Even now, we're doing 5. But back then, we started to move to 1.5.
4 times a week.
3 months? Yeah, we're doing 1. Yeah, because each of our meats is 50, 60 kilos.
Yeah, it's still though, man. That's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but we go through a lot. In one day at Glen Waverley, we'll go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On a normal weekday, maybe 6 to 8, and on a weekend,
weekend as well.
9-ish.
Is that so?
Each one's 50, 60 kilos. That's the one shop. That's the Glen Waverley shop. Forest Hill's obviously not as busy. Mount Waverley, we've got 4 meats always at once. So if you go to Mount Waverley, you've got 200 kilos just cooking in front of you. So the point is, these guys, like, I was like, man, 1 ton, like, that's crazy, because it sounds like a lot, but when you get into business, like, if I said to you, hey, like, 20 pallets is a lot, you're like, no, man, I'll do 700 a month. And like,
Yeah.
but like, once you're in the business or something, you'll understand. To you, it sounds like a lot. I know that, but when you're in the business, it's not that much.
Okay.
So anyway, so I got really competitive. So that was me. He got competitive. There was good and bad competition. The good competition, I guess, for both of us was we wanted to try and outdo the other one, which made sure we had to keep doing things to, I guess, stay competitive. There was some bad competition done on there. But I'll give you one example. So, like, you know, on Wednesdays we have those big events, and we have a lot of customers with our stickers on the. Online, I'm savage. I don't care. If someone wants to do me wrong, I'll be wrong. If you do your business and I'll do my business, you do you, I'll do me. Mention my name, I'll run you through the dirt.
Yeah, got you.
You know? So these guys, they put up a photo, and one of my customers were parked at that shops, and because they had a Glenny Kebabs sticker on the car, so my customer was parked at their shop, and they put up a post. Had the guy put on his personal, no worries, but he put on his business page saying, oh, isn't that funny? Something along those lines. I was like, they're baiting me, I'm gonna let it go. And my mate's like, oh, you've seen this? I was like, yeah, I have. I'm like, no worries. I'm like, hi, I'm the owner of Glenny Kebabs. So I'm surprised, something along these lines, I've print screened it. I'm surprised you went out of your way to put the owner's business page. I go, you do understand we send a lot of our customers your way because we can't cater to the number of people that do it.
Nice one.
And we can see that you're quite quiet, so we will try and provide service. No, I said it in a professional way.
Yeah.
But if you had read it, you're like, damn, he's throwing shit. I'm like, so we will provide as much service and customers that we can towards you, because unfortunately we don't have the capacity to serve the number of customers that come to us, and people are in a rush. So we always tell them, hey, there's a quiet kebab shop down the road, try to check them out. I went full on it with it. They so it was on their Facebook, it was on their page. They were the ones trying to sort of bring us down, and then our customers and their customers started giving them shit on their own posts that they deleted. So they went bad. Like, there could have been great competition, and we could have had this mad fun rivalry, because you can always have fun rivalry.
Yeah,
right? Like you could have a club called Red Heart, for example. You know, there's Red Heart, and you got Fashion Fighters. You could create this fun feud where, like, next week Red Heart's going to do this, and then the week after Fashion will try and outdo it, and so forth. So me and him, you know what it does? It creates that little community thing. And if you don't have a community, you'll have one, because people are like, no, I want to support Kebab Time, and he's like, no, I want to support Glenny Kebab. And we could have done that, but they decided to go down that dirty road. So that's example number 2. Example number 3, though, is completely different. And I want them to see this video. There's a shop on Sydney Road, in Bell Street in Preston, called Aussie Kebabs. All right, in black and white, in my font that my designer made for me, and his menu items are all exactly what my menu items are. I was like, well, that's sad, because now what he's done is just copied and pasted. It got to the point where people messaged me like, hey man, congrats. I'm like, for what? Like, your new shop? I'm like, that's not my shop. Same logo, same design, same everything, like everything. It's pretty sad. But that's bad competition, because what they've done is they just literally went on my website, copied my menu, copied the names of my menus, the prices, and the items.
It happens all the time. That's the thing. Like, that's what I was saying about before.
But that's bad. That's bad.
People do it all the time. There's like, oh, that's winning, I'm just going to copy it. I don't respect that. Like,
nah, no way.
that's shit competition. If someone comes with a better idea that's better than mine, I'm like, I respect that.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm gonna do something better than them. And like, sometimes you lose, and it's okay. But when someone just copies exactly what you've done,
Shit, that's
it's dog. Well, that's the only way to explain it. But yeah.
All right, and we'll do the final question for both of you. Big one. I don't even know what this is going to be. Think of something big. Actually, I think it'd just be this. For someone that is looking to start a business, that is watching this, what would it be? What would you tell them? Or what would you tell your younger self? What would be that advice that wanted to get into business?
Do it for the right reason.
Do it for the right reason.
Yeah. So it's like, and be passionate, because it's like, I got this big thing before, I think I've said it to you before, but it's like, you can't beat a guy who's passionate. Like I said, if you've got a chef who loves cooking and a chef who just does it for work, it's impossible to beat that guy, because when someone says, can you stay back 4 hours? He's like, yeah, of course I can, because I love this, right? Whereas if you're just doing it for work, the guy's like, well, no, I'm going to go home because I want to go drink a beer with my friends, whatever. So it's like, if you're going to do something, do it because you're passionate about it, because you can't be beaten. That's my advice to someone. And I think that, like, even my younger self, I didn't know that that's why I was doing well, but that was the reason why I was doing well.
Yeah.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Asad?
Can't really top that. He's right. Passion's passion. I don't know what I would tell myself. Going back to the other thing, just try and put ego aside. Try and, take that approach where, we're always learning. So don't try and put it up a ego wall.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you stay learning then? If learning, how do you stay learning?
Oh, like I said, the guys that own, I'm sure they'll watch it. So one of my mates that owns, he owns Burgatory. So he's got like 17 shops. And the other guy who owns Souvlaki GR is also going to be opening up his 15th shop. So I'm with those two a lot. Then I've got another friend who owns Old School Pizza. Then I've got 2 outlets, but they're very successful. So those are guys I hang out with all the time.
It's very simple, good people.
Yeah, so like these guys, like I'm constantly, so in an element of learning, so I asked him a question the other day. I'm like, hey, what do you guys use for timesheets? I'm like, I tried this one and I tried that. He goes, why are you trying things, man? He goes, we've done that trial and error. We wasted our time. We wasted our money. Ask us, we'll tell you. I was like, oh, that's pretty good, man. Like they've done that hard yard for me. They're already ahead of me in that stage, so I can learn from them.
Cheat the game.
Yeah, so I can sort of cheat the game. I've never had that before, so I want to start utilizing it now. So I'll make things a lot easier.
And so a funny one, because like good mentors is like another one too. Like having like good people around you and good mentors.
But you can only get, for me. All right, let me ask you this. I think that you can only get mentors once you're in the game.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, can you get mentors prior to the game?
I think one's like asking people, man. Like a lot of times, like you reach out to someone and be like, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing this. Obviously, like they may annoy you, but they may not.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the other one is like you learn. I don't know. I'm the same. Like I'm learning every single day. Like so many times, and I'm like, ask questions is another one.
Yeah.
It's like when I'll be like, someone says something, like the guy I said early before, the YouTube guy. So it's like, how do you make money off that? I don't know. Like I work in marketing, I work in Instagram, I've got like whatever to say. And then he starts explaining, I'm like, and how? And then this, and then that.
Natural
curiosity. It's like, but yeah, I think it's impossible to learn everything. And if you think you've learned everything, you haven't. Like, you've kept yourself out. If that makes sense. It's like, yeah, learning is like such a crazy thing. It's like, you just cannot, it's impossible. And like the world just moves too much. It's too fluid.
Yeah.
It's too fast as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked with the guy who's been a mechanic for 17 years. He said it still learns.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with it. 100%.
It's true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Come Up Starter Kit podcast from the heavy set of the Southeast. I hope you've enjoyed it.
If you're still watching it,
Oh, man, you better watch it. They better be watching it. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, do you guys want to say anything before we close out? Do it, Bragg. Any plugs coming up? Anything coming up?
Go buy heaps and heaps of wet pussy. You can at www.wetpussyshop.com.au. I hope that's right.
Bro, shit about it.
I'm not going to promote my business.
Very good. All right, guys. Thank you.